So, on to the street talk section then. And like I said, I think I said earlier, I don't remember now. It's been an okay start to the year. I gave it a kind of a bog standard all the way through this week. There wasn't anything that really got me super excited. Things just kind of happened. How were you feeling about this week?
I thought it was alright. I thought it was alright.
There were a few things that was like, oh, why did you do that? But yeah, whenever there's a lull in the Battersby dramas, I'm always going to knock it down a point or so. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Without going into spoiler territory, I've heard that Monday's episode is going to be a bit of a special episode. For good or for bad. Do you not know this?
No.
Though? Do you not know anything about Monday's episode?
No.
Well, definitely not going to go into spoiler territory then. But I think things were building up to something. Is all I'm going to say there. I'm just teasing. I'm sorry, I thought that was a widely known.
No,
you needed.
I don't spend. Look,
nor do I. We're going to start off with the Carla storyline. I've probably used this storyline title before because she's always doing it. I called it Carla Carlapses. Because
I don't remember you using that one before.
Oh, Carla Carlapses.
It's amazing.
Thank you. And then we've got a bit more of the Warner Brothers story. I was kind of mulling over whether to include all the stuff that was going on with the Radcliffes in with Carla's stuff. So I've kind of separated out her medical dramas from the Swain is hot on the tail of the
Swain is hot.
Shut up. On the tail of the guys that killed our beloved Becky. Next up, we're going to have what's going on with the Platt. So show off is my next question, because Shona was looking like she was going to be going off on Monday's episode, although by the end of the week it's decided to give things another go, and that drama is done. We've got the Daisy's blooming story next, and what?
How long are you going to, 9 months?
That story is going to be going for 9 months, unless unless anything happens to stop that. Then we have got the Poison Ken letter storyline with Cassie, and that's just feeling a bit weird to me. I'm
not for this anymore.
It's bizarre.
It was fine when it was just a bit light-hearted. Poisoning, but now she's trying to seduce him. I don't hold truck with that.
We had a little bit more to the grandmother-in-law story this week, with Evelyn getting a very fast track route to university. She makes a resolution on New Year's Eve, and by the 3rd of January she's been given a place on a course. We had a little bit of the Revenge of the Sis story, and there was a bit of Lauren stuff in there as well. So we've got 8 stories to go down this week, but I suppose there was that extra half an hour episode, wasn't there? So do you want me to, shall I take the Carla story first and all her medical woes? Well, starts off, we obviously didn't have any of Carla and Lisa at Christmas. Their pizza shenanigans clearly weren't entertaining viewing, or maybe they were just too racy to show on Coronation Street before 9 o'clock, I don't know. But she's telling Marie about what a lovely Christmas she had, and in come Lisa and Betsy into the cafe, are they? The Rose? I don't remember. Apparently Lisa's got a burst pipe at her house. It doesn't just happen at schools. I think just the plumbing throughout Weatherfield is just...
I think it's all lead
gone
lines
to the
as well.
Dogs. Yeah, probably. Whole place is flooded. I did kind of roll my eyes a little at this storyline development.
I would be adding to it, because I'd be in floods of tears. Wouldn't you be devastated? Yeah,
and he just came in and was like, pipes burst, what are you going to do?
Also, this is our home with Becky.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure that there are other reasons that Coronation Street comes up with sometimes to mean that somebody has to move out of their house or place of work. But it does just feel like burst pipe is the dull, cliched go-to.
You actually could have made a really interesting story out of that. Because Lisa's, there is a little bit about her with her box of memories that gets dropped on the floor, but it is to do with the police investigation. But don't you think that she'd be there, going, this was Becky's, it's ruined now, There could have been a whole week of real
house flooding
drama about that, and this is something that happens to people a lot more regularly than all the other stuff.
Tell you what, they did have Minnie Caldwell's house flood in 62, 61. I can't remember. They showed that.
They had to build a special sink, didn't they?
I think they did. Yeah. Anyway, Lisa loves the idea of spending. Normal
sinks would never flood.
Lisa loves the idea of spending New Year's with Carla, of course. So maybe that's not so bad after all. And then Carla's gets on the phone to Bobby. Every time
Poor
that they
Bobby.
try and
I feel bad
that
for
they
him.
show a character saying, Bobby, can you not spend time with me? I always have a little bit of a chuckle, but I kind of feel bad for Jack Carroll. But it's the voice of the viewer in the majority, isn't it? Carla's there saying, yeah, your gran,
just
she's
not come?
just stay at
stay
your
with
gran.
your
She's
gran.
lovely. Think how lonely and sad she'd be and
Yeah.
unentertained without your constant wisecracks and quips, Bobby. Just stay with your gran for a bit, so that Lisa and Betsy can come in with me. Oh, just
2 months later, he'll be like, can I come back now? And Lisa and Carla will be like, oh, sorry, Bobby, I forgot that you existed.
When Mason and Betsy were getting it on in today's episode in the flat, just imagine if Bobby had been there as the third wheel gooseberry.
Is Betsy too young for him, or is she also in danger like Lauren?
She could be, actually, couldn't she? I think that Bobby probably does think, if old Mason's going off to Germany, as far as Bobby's concerned, he's in there. Yeah. And with her living in the flat, it's only a matter of time, isn't it, before he starts turning down the heating. Anyway, like you said, Carla accidentally drops some of Lisa's stuff over the floor and the bottom of the box falls out. And it's not really her fault, but it causes a bit of angst temporarily.
I thought this was like her being guarded over Becky's memories, because I thought she'd brought her box of memories of Becky's.
It might have been. I thought it was police stuff.
But I think it is police paperwork because she's investigating the death.
Oh, okay.
And we find out later in the week that she's got gory photos of her body on her phone.
I know.
That's really unhealthy. I'm not going to tell anybody how to grieve, but I'm just going to say I don't feel like it's healthy.
I want to know, when they had the funeral, what was the picture they chose of Becky to go on the
God.
front? Did they have her smeared across the tarmac?
No.
Just in case.
No. Horrible.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, there's
Lisa.
more drama caused when Lisa tells Carla that she's got work to do over the New Year's period.
She said she would have New Year's Eve off.
Yes, but no, she's got to go to work
But she
because
doesn't,
crime
'cause she
waits for
lied.
no man. So Tuesday, Carla's still a bit peed off at Lisa's working schedule over the New Year.
But she's lied.
She has got some work to do, but she's also planning a little plot, isn't she? And she has a bit of a chat with Betsy about this, which involves having a romantic meal in the cafe of all places. And
it's salmon en croûte.
Yes,
with crushed potatoes, which is Carla's favourite.
I don't
know about that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Okay. I enjoyed seeing Roy as the waiter.
This is his biggest day of the year. He's losing out on all the money, all the New Year's Eve money he could make, and he's having to stop it.
Do you think that Roy's Rolls is like the hot location, for the hot spot for festivities come New Year's Eve?
Definitely.
They're all waiting to count down to the bongs in Roy's parlour.
Yeah, love it.
Okay. Anyway, Lisa gets a message. This domestic abuse victim that only will talk to Lisa has hailed her over, and so Carla has to be left to enjoy her salmon en croûte solo. Sad times.
Maybe Roy's allowed some. Or do you think she's like, no, Roy, it's a romantic meal, you're not having it with me. I wonder what Lisa's had. Do you think she has to eat salmon en croûte as well?
Or if she can have it heated up in the microwave later. It's
but do you reckon she had something different? Because it is a cafe. You don't have to have the same as everyone else. It's probably kebab again, wouldn't it?
No, I think that that's what you generally do if you're having a romantic meal.
You have to have the same thing.
Yeah, like it or not. It's like Betsy didn't have any choice when she came around Mason's. I don't know how much of that spaghetti carbonara did get eaten when Mason was offering himself on a plate as well.
Because that would not keep. You got to serve that immediately unless you did it wrong.
I do love a spaghetti carbonara.
I do. I'm going to hazard a guess as to say that he didn't do it authentically. I think it's probably just creamy cheese sauce.
No, he's a top chef. He's been headhunted.
I know, apparently.
Great European
There's nobody
chefs
in Germany that is as good at cooking as Mason is, so it has to be called over there with a special visa, because the Germans are like, we must admit we cannot do it like you English can.
Anyway, Lisa, what's going on? Carla sees Kit in the street, who says, look, Lisa's got too involved with this woman. She's not a social worker. What's she doing? And then he gets a call because there's this ruckus on the Paul Robeson estate, which is where the woman lives.
Which is 5 words for ruffians.
Paul Robeson estate, this is where Shona grew up, isn't it?
This is also where Gemma and Paul as well. And it's a bad place.
What was the estate called in the bill?
Puppy Farm was there as well.
Was it? Was that in the Paul
I'm pretty
Robeson.
sure that's where the dog and gun is.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember what it was called.
Jasmine Allen, it was on the bill.
Oh, yeah. It's always named after some poor hapless historical figure who just probably not want to be related to any of this.
Yeah, I know, the Robeson family are
Like,
probably
you're bringing
just
it
like...
into disrepute. Maybe that's why ITV's got no money. They're being sued.
Lisa gets back to Carla's flat later. She's got a bus slip. This woman's abusive
I
ex
thought you
had a
said
bit of a pop at her.
a bus slip.
No.
She's like, I've got to come back on the bus.
No,
I'm going to keep the receipt there and get the money
This
back
is what
for this.
put it on expenses.
Yeah.
This is what Kit got called into
bust
because
lip.
the woman's partner had a bit of a pop at her, so now poor old Lisa is bleeding from the lip. But Carla gets worse off in the next few days, so she shouldn't really complain. That's most. There's not. That's not mostly it. There's a huge thing at the end of Tuesday's episode. They get caught up in the slow-mo New Year's montage at New Year's Eve as the bongs strike 12, don't they? And let's pause all plot discussion for the moment to discuss our full and frank and honest thoughts on that awful Snow Patrol mess that they made of the 12 o'clock bongs in the Rovers.
What are we talking about? What are we pausing it for?
To talk about the dreadful Snow Patrol scene.
Oh, yeah, I hated it.
Do you not really... Is it not boil your blood and anger you and frustrate you about how awful it was?
I got 3 comments.
Oh, go on.
Right, so
I didn't know you were prepared.
Pen and paper ready for my feedback here, because it's important
Go on,
that
then.
this is recorded. Number 1, do not like the music. I thought it was dreary. I don't like dreary songs. I'm sorry, but I don't.
People said that Gavin and Stacey used that music once for a
Why?
very similar scene.
Dreary.
It
Number
is.
2, do not like slow motion, really, unless you're jumping in front of a car. Number 3...
What about if you're jumping in front of a bullet? No, like when Ardy jumped in front of Kelly up on the roof.
Well, if it doesn't... Look, the logic doesn't hold, Michael, because the bullet's going to be slow as well. It doesn't help you out. If you were going in slow motion and the bullet was going fast, it'd be bad. If you were going fast and the bullet was going slow, that's the only way it makes any sense, because then you can jump out of the way faster.
What if you're walking towards Carla on New Year's Day and you are Tyrone and you're saying... Happy New Year, Carla. Because she's having a strange mental breakdown.
That's fine.
I mean, sorry, sepsis.
What if
Always
your
get those two confused.
hair is blowing in the wind and you look beautiful?
Anyway, I agree.
Third comment, I don't like sound effects of things. Like, yeah, when you punch somebody, I want a doof. But when you throw confetti, I don't need a magical sound like you're a fairy.
Magical shimmer. It was
Mary's
truly
not a magic
dreadful.
Christmas fairy throwing confetti everywhere. We don't need a sound effect for it.
The thing is, I think what Corrie were going for with that is saying, look, everybody's in the Rovers, it's a community event, like you like everybody, let's savour this moment, everyone's hugging and kissing, and I have seen some people liking it. I mean, some people listening might be saying, oh, I thought
Well,
it was
they knew
fine.
that we would hate it, so they're not surprised.
It was truly terrible, and the
I like
Rovers...
the way you just state it like it's a fact rather than an opinion.
No,
it was
no.
terrible.
I thought, in my opinion, it was truly terrible. It was nice to see a slightly fuller Rovers again. It could have been packed more.
Just the comment, right? I know there's been loads of criticism about Kate Britt. Since we did our interview, it's very disheartening to read lots of people's comments not liking it, because I was genuinely thought what she said in that specific interview, not anything else, we're not talking about spoilers and stuff, was very positive. And I'll give her dues, because ever since she said she wanted more friendships and more like community stuff, we have seen it happen on screen. We have seen more regulars together in Rovers. We saw there was a scene, I can't remember which day it was, where we moved from character set to character set, all in the Rovers together. And I know that the actors hate doing it, sitting in in the back of their scenes, they hate doing it. But I'm sorry, it really isn't needed in Coronation Street.
This was Brian and Yasmin talking and listening into Steve and Cassie's conversation about operas or ballets or something. And you're right, I really enjoyed that. It was on them, and then the camera just pans to Yasmin and Brian, who've been listening in, and Yasmin talks about her. How many operas can you name, Gemma, or ballets?
Know any.
I think I said the Nutcracker as well. For a ballet,
genetic opera. Is that one?
I don't know. I can name more soap operas, but not actual operas. But yeah,
sink
that was
dramas.
lovely. And although I, semi-appreciated what they're going for with the slow-mo stuff, it didn't hit. But I did really enjoy the table football getting a coin through the gold thing that was on Wednesday's
Coronation
episode.
Street's version
That
of
was
Squid
really,
Game.
really good. Yeah, because it was Steve and Tim and Bethany and David.
They didn't need to be there.
It was actually that little that little vignette there was possibly. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to develop into some kind of league next week. It was completely useless, and it didn't serve any point other than to be entertaining. And it was, and it actually had some fairly major characters in. And I love the bit where Bethany comes and sits down opposite. Was it David? I can't remember. And they're like, right, gloves are off now. You can't get past them.
I loved it.
Really, really nice.
I loved all the Rover scenes, and also I can't remember who it was today that gave David a comb and...
Oh, yeah, who was that gave him the comb and... Gosh, that was Steve, wasn't it?
I think it was Steve. That was pointless, that scene. But I loved it. It didn't serve any narrative purpose except to make you believe you're watching a community of people who know each other.
Yeah.
And Coronation Street has been sorely missing that element for so long. You just don't think any of these people know each other or what's going on or are involved in each other's lives. And Kate Brooks gave me the impression that was important to her, and she has demonstrated very effectively and masterfully that she has been able to do that. And as much as I hated the stupid dreary music and the sound effects and stuff, the fact that the Rovers was full of people all celebrating, it felt like back to before COVID times.
Fullish. I mean, people were shoulder.
Why'd you have to moan about everything?
I'm not sorry, but anyway, I didn't like that.
It wasn't full enough. It wasn't full enough.
Because
the music was terrible. Now that is a fact.
Yeah. They had Toya and Nick were kissing.
What was it called? I've forgotten the name of the track.
We've written it down somewhere. You looked out, you Shazammed it, didn't you? Snow
Patrol, fine. The few of the songs, fine, right? But they're for when you're in the dark drinking and you're sad about something.
I don't think I know any Snow Patrol songs.
Run.
Which one? No. Look, we just miss it. We're holding out on the big OMG moment of that.
I'm not even I know the person who knows the person whose mum is the mum of the drummer of that band. So
do you?
I don't want to criticise them too much, but they're dreary.
Right. What wasn't dreary was Carla telling Lisa, kind of
telling her outright.
She doesn't, because
casually. She just tells her casually.
She kind of drops it in there, doesn't she? She says, "Oh, who'd have thought that a year ago I'd be falling in love with a local copper?" So she doesn't kind of directly say, "I love you." Indirectly is how she kind of implies it, doesn't she? To test the waters there. And
I don't think she is testing the waters. I think she's genuinely, unguardedly stating her opinion.
I think that she'd had a little bit too much to drink, and maybe it slipped out before she was ready to. She wasn't like building up to, I'm going to declare my love for Lisa at 12 o'clock tonight. And Lisa certainly wasn't expecting it either, because it all gets a little bit awkward, and Carla kind of ends up going home feeling a little bit embarrassed by it all. And then so Lisa chases,
and then Kit makes fun of it, doesn't he? Does he? I think he does. He's like, oh, that's awkward.
Oh yeah, I think somebody did, didn't they? Yeah, so Lisa kind of chases Carla back home, and she's pretty peeved. Carla is, and Lisa's like, look, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting it. I just need to build up to it. I will get there though. And they kiss again, and then Carla turns around to go to bed, and she has a little wincy moment just to foreshadow her future medical woes. So that was quite a moment. I mean, it's been quite funny seeing the different paces that these two ladies are going at in terms of when they're ready to admit or say or declare certain stages.
All of the tension's coming from their personal interactions with each other, which I think is really nice, because usually it's some kind of stupid external force, or like somebody fancies somebody else, or they're throwing a spanner in the works, or it just feels like a real relationship where some people move faster in certain stages than others.
I think I'm getting the impression that Carla's probably been having these sort of feelings for a bit longer, but she's been too shy or not sure, a bit too nervous about admitting them. And now the floodgates have opened, and because she was the one that planted the smacker on Lisa a couple of weeks ago, didn't she, with Sally in an audience, and she was the one that announced to the factory girls, we're a couple. So I think now that, as I say, the floodgates are open, she's just like, I'm going to sing it from the rooftops. And Lisa, who had been wanting her to say something, is kind of maybe been caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
maybe.
hang on a minute, I know wanted you to admit it, but it doesn't mean
It
that
might be a bit
I
too
want to
fast
marry
then.
you. And yeah, exactly. Although to be fair, by the end of the week, she's saying much the same thing herself. So
They're
Carla,
always like a week out from each other.
yeah. I thought that when women spent enough time together, everything just kind of synced up.
It's a myth. Yeah.
That's why they go to the toilet together, is it?
No, so we can talk about you.
So Wednesday's episode rolls around. This is the New Year's Day half-hour spectacular, and Carla. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. This is the hour one, wasn't it? Tuesday was the half-hour one. Carla is having some odd hallucinations. This was my second shake my head and kind of hold my head in my hands moment. You liked
this? I know.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. You know why you like these though? I've always said that I like these.
So Roy's there carrying a load of boxes, going, "There's too many boxes in the cafe. In the factory. There's too many boxes. And then Carla's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll just take my boxes out."
What can she hear? Like a banging or a knocking or something? And she keeps turning around to like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, that's later on.
I thought it was the same episode. That's how it starts off.
No. You're thinking of what happens in the flat later.
She keeps turning around. What's she looking at then?
No, that's later on in the flat. You're confusing scenes here. This is just her sitting in the cafe, and then weird Dalek Roy starts spouting out that there's too many boxes piled up in the factory, and it turns out that she's hallucinating it. So did you like that, or is it just the knocking?
Why are you having
liked?
a go at me?
I'm not. I'm just wondering whether you liked
giving me
Roy's.
the Spanish Inquisition, like I'm not allowed to like things you don't like.
No, I'm just wondering whether you like Roy's thing.
I like this stuff.
Okay, fine.
I've always said that I like this stuff.
Did you like it
because it's as close as you can get to being inside someone's head, which I've said before they don't do on Coronation Street.
I just think
difficult.
it's if they overuse it, which
I know they do overuse it.
Then it loses its.
They do overuse it, but they overuse serial killers, and I still love them.
Fair enough. Yeah, and this is when she goes outside she's a bit shaky.
I'm sorry, I've got terrible taste, I know.
That's fine.
And some of the things I like probably are ruining the show, right? I don't care. So I like what I like.
If I can put up with your terrible taste in men, I will put up with your terrible taste in Coronation Street editing techniques as well. Then.
Sorry.
So she moves out of the cafe and Tyrone's there kind of slow-mo mooing his way over to her. So and she's like, what the hell is going on? She staggers off in the direction of Coronation Street. And her flat, which is where she ends up. She's having proper wonky cam time. This is when she hears...
Wonky time?
This is when...
That's what I have every night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, when I drink alone and listen to Snow Patrol.
She hears this strange knocking sound. I don't know whether it's like the telltale heart and it's Kezia having fallen down the factory steps 20 years ago and is finally catching up with Carla.
She's going to have to have it out with Lisa about all this stuff.
Yeah. I have done a few things that are technically a little bit against the law sometimes, Lisa.
One of them was covering up a death.
Yeah. She's not gone down for that.
No.
She's done all sorts of mischief.
Naughty lady.
Anyway, she hears a knocking, so she goes to the door, but there's nobody there. So she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going nuts again. Sinks to the ground in tears. And then Tyrone heads into the cafe and he kind of has a joke with Roy saying, oh, Carla's looking still a bit hungover from last night's revelries to me. And Roy says, well, it didn't seem to be like that for me. And
she drank
so
that
much, actually. Yeah, he's a bit concerned about
Ali
her.
King looked proper, really ill, didn't she? She had a shiny face. She looked sweaty and confused and pale.
That's sepsis for you. So Carla's barely conscious on the floor later when there's a buzzing at the door, and she reaches up and pulls the intercom phone thingy off the hook. Then she passes out again, and it's Roy, of course, who lets himself in. And Carla's like, oh, I think it's coming again, or I think it's happening again. She's worried.
Psychosis.
Yeah, she's worried that she's going to be seeing Hayley wandering around in her red coat again before long, chasing Rana up the steps. So he brings an ambulance.
I hate these medical storylines are so annoying. I'm at my limit now, genuinely now. I can't, this is the second time in 6 months we've had a character with sepsis. And all it's teaching me is that I don't want to get it. I don't need to know about all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I don't need to know. It's making me paranoid. I'm getting hypochondria from Coronation Street because I'm scared I'm going to get MND or sepsis or some horrible cancer all the time because all that ever happens on this show is that people get it.
It makes me wonder.
I knew that sepsis existed already because of Coronation Street, because Sue Cleaver got it.
Yeah.
And then we also had what's-his-face leg come off. I know about sepsis now. Can we move on to something else, please?
Yeah, maybe Carla's worried that she's going to lose a leg like Jack did, although he has become a top athlete.
She's not going to lose her leg, she's going to lose her kidney.
Yeah, that's true.
I just can't deal with it.
She can't have a pathetic one of those.
If I wanted to watch... Look, we watched... Another thing we watched over Christmas, we talked about watching EastEnders, but we also watched Casualty.
Oh, yes.
And it was good, right? But I only need to watch it once a year.
So good in that.
Because I hate medical stuff. I just hate it so much. I cannot tell you how much I hate it. And I don't watch Casualty for that reason. I don't watch Holby City. I remember watching 999 when I was a kid, and it was terrifying.
Love 999.
What are we doing here? Sepsis again?
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think before Jack got sepsis I really knew anything about it at all, but you're right.
Now I know. Let's move on. Do we have to do a test or something? Is that what's... If we all graduate the test, right, about sepsis, if we all get all the questions right, can we go on to something else, please? Because I'm done with this.
I think that if they keep these medical storylines going for 7 years, that's about as long as a doctor's training, isn't it? Maybe we'll all be qualified. Yeah. We'll all be GPs by the end of this.
I'm not doing it.
Tell you what, I know all there is to know about Lyme disease. That was a year ago,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Look, okay, and I'm just going to say this too, because I was going to say this for later, but I'm on a rant now. Medical storylines suck and they're crap, but also I'm coming around to the idea of having multiple police officers now.
Are you?
Because they're all so different, and because what they're up to is all opposed to each other. Like Kit versus Swain is fascinating to me, and the fact that he is meddling around with Mason and Logan behind Swain's back, even though he knows that she's investigating them, is
Matty and Logan.
Matty, what did I say?
Mason.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. And also I love Craig, that he is just bumbling around in the background, like eating biscuits all the time and getting bitten by Leanne. I know that a lot of people criticise it, and there are way too many scenes in the police station. I think we should knock that on the head as well. But the interplay between these three characters who are all police officers and how it affects their relationships with each other, I find I'm now coming around to that. But that's more can you see how that is a different focus to the medical stuff? Who's the doctor in Coronation Street? We never see her anymore. Why is she never involved in any of these things? If we had a bit more Dr. Gaddis involved, and okay, and then maybe Dr. Gaddis. And remember when Dr.
Maybe
Gaddis...
Maybe 2025 is the year for Gaddis being made a main character.
Remember when she was there with Liz and Moira? And that was fun because it was a medical stuff, because they were all three characters in the show talking about medical things. That was interesting. I care about characters. I don't care about diagnosis because I'm not watching a medical drama.
Well...
The end.
With that rant over, let's go back to what we were talking about. Yeah, Carla goes to hospital and she's there. She's been wheeled in on a stretcher, and a bloke comes and tells Roy that her symptoms sound a little bit like sepsis. And Roy's like, "By the way, did you know she only has one kidney?" So that's the main drama this week, isn't it? Like, she's going to need a new kidney. Where could that come from?
Maybe.
I wonder.
You don't know. I don't think. Do you think she's going to really need a new kidney, or do you think it'll be all right?
Oh, probably.
But you know that they saying she's only got one kidney. She doesn't. She's got 3 now.
Oh yeah, you told me this the other day.
We learned this at the time. They don't take them out. They just put new ones in.
Just keep cramming them in.
All she's going to do is Carla's going to just spend the rest of her time on Coronation Street slowly collecting one kidney from every other character until she has everyone's kidney all tucked up inside.
Okay, so Carla's conscious later when Roy goes to see her. And she says, "Look, no prognosis yet. I just need to keep an eye on me and my kidney for a little while. Don't worry Lisa about it though." So she didn't want Lisa to find out because she thinks that she's going to run a mile when sort of at the thought of her partner being in some kind of critical medical condition because of what happened with Becky.
Oh.
She thinks that she's going to, she's not going to be able to cope with this. So
she's this woman's already gone through an unimaginable tragedy. She would be right to run a mile from this, and also she's also become.
I wouldn't say she would be right. I'd say one might understand.
Protect yourself from trauma, and also she says that it's my business later on. She's like, it's my business, it's no one else's business.
So Carla's plan is that she phones up Lisa and says, "I'm off to Ireland to go and see Michelle for a few days." Lisa's obviously gutted about this because she thinks Carla's doing a bunk after the the fumbling about last night where she wasn't ready to hear the declaration of love. And
bought
Carla's like, no, don't worry, it's not that. Anyway, but what's that sound? I've been called to the gate. Gotta go, bye. That was, I thought that was really harsh of Carla doing that.
I don't know what she thinks she's doing.
I think it was, did she think she'd be able to get away with it?
In the end.
It did turn out all right in the end. But I think Lisa was pretty peeved off when she finds out on Friday that Carla's lied to her. And I think I would be as well.
But it's okay because she did it because she was scared of being hurt.
Yeah, I think that Carla should have been honest with her.
Yeah, well, I think she's also maybe a bit embarrassed. And I'm not saying she should be embarrassed, but I am saying... that when you have something wrong with you like this, it makes you very vulnerable and you can be scared of telling people, you know?
Well, we've seen that on Corrie before as well, like when Tim had his issues with his heart the other year and he didn't want to tell Carla. He didn't want to tell
Sally.
I think it just makes for easy drama on soaps if people don't know about other people's medical conditions.
This is what I'm like. I don't want anyone to know my business.
Not like me.
No, you're like, oh, I've got a funny lump.
Yeah.
That's your head.
Gemma, I had a blood blister on my finger for about 3 weeks last month. I was like, Gemma, I got a red.
Could be some kind of rare disease. It might be sepsis.
Anyway, Carla's got this plan and on Friday it all falls apart because...
Well, poor Lisa's bought her flowers and everything for her birthday.
Yeah, so
she's been rejected, is what she thinks.
Roy is able to celebrate Carla's birthday with her on Friday. He brings her a birthday cupcake and... she's like, look, can you go and pick up some stuff from the flat? Would you mind? Just not when Lisa's there, because I still don't want her to know that I'm in hospital, all right, Roy? From that moment, you knew that Roy was going to go there at the same time as Lisa.
One thing also to say about Carla hiding this from Lisa is that when you're in this situation and you're relying on people, it makes you feel bad and you feel like you're putting them out. But Roy and Carla have this special relationship where they've both been through hell and back together. And earlier in the year, she was, trying to protect him from being in prison and doing everything she could to get him out again. And so she probably doesn't feel like there's that barrier of, I'm taking advantage of him or he doesn't want to do this for me. Because they've done so many things for each other that they're kind of, that is such an old friendship.
I think maybe I'm just projecting myself onto Carla, and I think
we all do. That's how we all watch TV.
If I had something wrong with me, I'd be like, I just want everybody to know so I could get maximum sympathy.
No, I wouldn't. I don't want anyone to. I don't even want you to know.
Little selfish of me, maybe. Anyway, Swain hears Ryan talking to Sarah in the cafe about going to see Carla for her birthday, and she's like, hang on a minute, I thought she was in Ireland. And
with
Ryan, you've just said that you'd come back from Ireland to see Carla. What's going on there then? So they go back. Ryan and Swain go back to the flat later, and then what do you know?
Roy's there with a big swag bag.
Yeah, looking like he's casing the joint. And Lisa's like, oh, hang on a minute, you're keeping a secret for Carla, aren't you? Where is she? And Roy, this is my line of the night where Roy says, "No comment, officer."
That was brilliant
because he hates lying, and I think this was a perfect way of getting around that because. Roy will never lie apart from about the Coronation Street sinkhole. Did Abby have a gun or not? And look what happened there. But being able to use no comment, like that, it was almost a joke from Roy. If it wasn't Roy, I think that was a joke.
Well, it was funny anyway.
But Roy doesn't know of such things. So Carla takes off her sleeping mask in the hospital later, and Roy, Lisa, and Ryan are
That was a great shot
good reveal,
too, because she's got this sleeping mask on, and she's like, "Oh, Roy, you caught me with my sleeping," and then she goes, "Oh my god!" They're all staring at her like she's in trouble, and Lisa's using her police face.
Yes.
Isn't she?
Yes.
Like, you're about to get interrogated.
You're in trouble, miss. So Carla's got to fess up, and she's like, "Look, I just got a bit of sepsis." Just a little bit of sepsis. Don't worry, it's nothing too big. Don't want to fuss.
Don't worry about it.
And Lisa's like, you lied to me. Come on, you can tell me anything. I thought that you'd upset me, and that's why you were leaving the country. I thought that I'd upset you. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's why you were leaving the country. I would be miffed as well if I was Lisa. I think that's why I was kind of more annoyed at Carla here because she inadvertently made Lisa doubt herself and feel bad for something that should Lisa have said "I love you" back? No, not necessarily. Not if she wasn't ready for it. Anyway,
who knows?
Anyway, Doctor. Thank goodness we're out of the dating game, because I don't know how you do any of that stuff anymore.
I don't understand.
Doctor comes in, or whatever. Somebody comes in with a special outfit on and says, "Carla, your sepsis has done major damage to your kidney, love.
No.
Sorry. Hopefully it won't be permanent, though." And Carla says, "Well, what if I do? What if it is? I'm going to need another transplant." Yeah, you certainly are.
So much.
Or dialysis. Don't worry, it's probably going to be fine, but Carla is seeing the worst. She's very pessimistic about her prognosis.
I've got 10 years left to live.
Yeah, she wants to know
Horrible.
what she wants. Again, some people want to know that, don't they?
I don't want to know about what. I don't need to be in the situation where I think about any of this.
Carla's very organised. I can imagine her kind of needing to know absolutely everything. She doesn't like to be in the dark about things.
This is why it upsets me to hear about it.
So Swain gets summoned to the hospital by Ryan, and Carla tells her what's going on and state of play, and she says, "Sorry, if you want to walk away from this relationship now before it gets too complicated, then I wouldn't blame you." And Swain says, "Oh, it's too late for that. I love you, Carla. I'm going to be with you every single step of the way."
Aww.
So, I don't know whether Carla says "I love you" back. I hope she hasn't changed her mind since New Year. Yeah, but it's still polite if somebody says it to you and that you say it back to them. Otherwise, you know better than Lisa was on Tuesday night.
She's worried about a kidney.
The ships that pass in the night, these two, I tell you. Anyway, so they love each other. Lisa's not abandoning Carla, which I never thought that she would.
No.
Everything's looking good on Team Swain, Carla. Apart from the fact that she's possibly got a dodgy kidney and again, and she's going to have.
Why don't they give you two? When they give you kidney, why don't they give you two?
What, just in case one goes wrong?
I suppose if they'd given her both Aiden's kidneys, he needed both of them.
She didn't get Aiden's kidneys, did she?
I thought she did.
I thought
she did, didn't she?
I don't remember now. Oh yes, she did. She did get Aiden's kidneys because it was the scene afterwards in the hospital bed. He was having a good old cry, wasn't he? And we were going, what's he getting so upset about?
It's because they've taken both his kidneys off on my medical...
It turned out he was having darker thoughts.
They took both his kidneys on my medical recommendation, which nobody should use.
I was getting it mixed up with with Peter, who got a liver from someone else whose mum came and visited later, wasn't she? So anyway, there we go. That's what's going on with Carla. But the Lisa drama doesn't end there, because while all this has been going on, I mean, this is one of the things that Carla's been having all of this medical kerfuffle, and Lisa's not really been around to find out about it because she's been somewhat distracted by the developments in the case about her beloved Becky. And so do you want to kind of take over with this one, Gemma? I've kind of started off, and I've got the Mason and Betsy stuff separate from the Lisa stuff on Wednesday because I didn't realise they'd merged together on Friday. But do you want to take over here? What's been going on with Mason and Betsy?
Oh, you mean Heston? The Heston of Coronation Street.
Yeah. It's
funny how whenever there's a chef on Corrie, they're always like the best chef there ever was.
I know, Zidane was, wasn't he?
Zidane was, and so was Robert, because he had his review, didn't he?
There's nobody that's just okay.
I think maybe that's Roy.
No, Roy, 20 years ago, he got visited by this top restaurant critic who put him in the paper for serving at the best breakfast in Greater Manchester.
Best breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh, I must go.
How dare you besmirch Roy by saying he's merely average, Gemma?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just because he serves cups of coffee that don't actually have any liquid in them. That's just part of his allure.
Cup. It just says coffee cup. If you want the liquid, it's extra. What a racket.
Right, go on then. Mason and Betsy.
So on Wednesday, Mason's trying to turn over a New Year's new leaf with Dylan, but it doesn't look like it's going to be easy.
Dylan don't want to know.
I think this is just to remind us that he does have that history, although I haven't forgotten.
Well, it was also because by the end of the episode, they had made up. Basically, Wednesday's episode was... This was Corrie's push to make everybody think that Mason's great.
Mason's great. He's brilliant. He's a nice chap. He's a good boyfriend. I hope he goes to Germany and just stays there and doesn't involve
and lives the
himself
best
in any
life,
drama.
cooking up frankfurters for Stu.
Do you think that Stu's restaurant in Germany is the new Auntie Pam's farm, where everybody goes?
Yeah, maybe.
So, Betsy's like, let's have a date. I want to have a date with you. And he agrees to.
Maybe Stu gets all of his produce from Auntie Pam's farm.
Probably, yeah. Right, so Sally, like, Mason's like, I'm going to take her to the cinema. And she says, no, you need to take her somewhere. You can talk about what's going on.
This was a brilliant scene.
Yeah, it was.
I'm loving the Sally, Tim and Mason dynamic.
Yeah, it was sweet.
It feels like it's kind of come fairly naturally over the course of the last month and a half or so. But this is a great script in this scene, because Sally's saying, oh, no, Tim says first you should go to the flicks. And Sally's like, no, you can't just sit there in the dark. You've got nothing to talk about. You need to go to museums or art galleries and then talk about your shared philosophies.
And Mason and Tim are like, no, I think they're all literally closed now.
Closed. No, that was Tim. Tim says they're all closed on New Year's Day, and Mason's reaction was brilliant. It was like, yeah, definitely. That was perfectly performed by Luca Toole, and then I loved it. But yeah, they end up just deciding that a romantic meal is the way to go.
Yes. So he's cooking, and he is making minestrone soup, spaghetti carbonara, and a brownie.
Brownie with vanilla ice cream. Now, Gemma made me some minestrone soup, didn't you? I thought that you were about to jump my bones.
Oh, no.
Ew, no!
Not when you've had soup.
But that's why Betsy and Mason went to bed before, didn't they? They didn't even get the starters down them before they dropped their drawers.
I just love this because, Mason's worked in Speed Dial, and he obviously was cooking Pakistani food there.
Yeah.
And now he's cooking Italian food. Is that why Stu needs him in Germany? Which cuisine do you think he's going to be cooking? Do you think that the Germans are crying desperately out for an English chef that's really good at spaghetti carbonara?
I don't know.
Anyway, he's very good at it. He's still cooking when Dylan lets himself in, and Tim's told Dylan about his nasty brothers being horrible, and he knows now that that's the reason why Mason was horrible to Dylan and to Liam.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm happy to move on if you are. And they shake each other's hand and wish each other Happy New Year. And
everything's cool there.
And this is another example of this stupid thing I hate in Corrie, where as long as you can pin it on someone else, you being an asshole or racist or a bully or anything or violent, as long as someone else did it to you first, you get away with it.
The redemption of Mason is so utterly ridiculous.
It's like
but
Max
he's just,
with Griff.
Yeah, I find him really charming.
I know, I think he's great.
So I love him despite the fact that he was utterly vile.
I wish he hadn't had that background. I really do, because I really love
He's much
Mason.
better. He's much better as the kind of character he is now.
Yeah, he really is. We needed people like him in the show.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone really like him.
No, not particularly.
Because we have loads of female urchins. We don't get very many boy ones.
Dude, this is true.
So anyway, he's all fine. He gets a phone call. And I don't remember what the phone call was.
Oh, it's
Is it his brothers or something?
Yeah, it's related to the Lisa stuff.
Well, anyway,
we'll get to that in a minute. Sorry, I told you I've mucked up my notes.
So Betsy gets there and she's just like, it's bantering, and then she wants to take him upstairs.
She had a great line because he's playing classical music and she's like, oh, it sounds like you're on hold to the bank. And he's like, I thought this was supposed to be romantic. So she was like, oh, if you find when you're in your overdraft romantic, then maybe. It was really, really lovely and sweet. And she led him off to bed, and they probably just had a nice lie down.
They probably had some cocoa.
I don't know.
So Swain and Kit, meanwhile, are talking about Matty being brought in for being drunk and disorderly last night. And Swain's like, I want to grill him over Becky. And Kit's saying, we can't do that. And anyway, we've got to let him go. So she watches them, Matty, leaving the police station, and she's getting really mad. And she follows him to the precinct and goes up and confronts him. And she says, I want to know where you were the night my wife was murdered. And then Matty, just basically admits it, that he was involved. He said, oh, Bex would be so disappointed in you. I can't remember what else he said. He just says something really horrible things. And
yeah,
she grabs
I can't
him.
remember.
Luckily, Kit's there, and he kind of calms everything down, and Matty sort of slopes off.
Yeah, luckily, I do hate it when characters just pop up because they happen to be there. It's so common. People will get into a bit of a tussle, and then somebody will come up and go, whoa, break it up.
Yeah.
And in my head as well, I can't divorce the layout of the set from what happens on Coronation Street. So in my mind, the police station is literally a 10-second walk away from the precinct.
Was off to get a sausage roll. Anyway, the phone call I've just remembered that that he gets was stew, wasn't it?
Oh,
because
yes.
Friday, Mason's telling Tim how he had a great night, but Stu's asked him to go to Germany
with his cocoa, yeah.
to work in his restaurant. Apparently the visas are all fine, you don't need to worry about it anymore, because in the world of Weatherfield, Brexit never happened.
No.
There's still freedom of movement for everybody.
Yeah, it's all right for Gail.
Yeah. So he gets a message from Betsy, and she goes to the empty flat, which is Carla's flat.
Yeah, she's up for round
she's like,
2.
ooh, come round again. And when he gets there, she looks at his messages and finds out about this trip, this move to Germany. And he's like Betsy, where they're both hot-headed and they don't like to admit they're wrong. And so he's like, oh, well, yeah, well, maybe we're not married, are we? I can do what I want.
I'm kind of, for some of the time, I'm kind of going back and forth about how into Betsy Mason really is.
But
because I got the impression at some point, I think it was during this week, that when she was trying to get him to go out on a date with her at the beginning of the week, he wasn't like really jumping at the chance. But although when, again, it was in that lovely Sally and Tim scene where Sally asks him to describe Betsy to her, he paints a lovely picture of, and it shows that he really is quite sweet on her. So
yeah, I think he's also from, because of his brothers and how he was raised, he's very defensive all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, Lisa finds them, doesn't she?
Yes.
And Mason slopes off, but
it's a good job.
Him.
It's a good job that they timed their bonk, for lack of a better term, around Lisa and Roy
have cocoa,
arriving.
Don't they? Before Betsy finds.
And I think they were doing it on the sofa as well, because you did get a scene of Mason pulling his t-shirt down like he just was getting dressed. So literally, if Lisa had come home, I'm going to say 3 minutes earlier, she could have found Mason and Betsy with cocoa all over their top lip.
Yeah.
And poor Roy, Roy wouldn't have known where to look.
You spill cocoa everywhere, and it's going to be horrible to clean that up.
Do it in the bedroom at least, kids. Come on.
As long as it's not really hot, you can have cocoa in 3 minutes.
That's true.
Just got to maybe blow on it a bit first.
Don't put it in the microwave for too long.
No, pour a bit of cold water on it. Anyway, Lisa follows Mason into the street and confronts him again about what he's doing with her daughter. And
she's being quite unprofessional with the amount of
she's really
off the clock policing she's doing, isn't she?
Is. She's such a grafter.
Kit's the bent copper, but I think that Lisa's kind of picking up some tips from him on how to do a little bit of investigating when Bostello's not watching her.
They're doing anything by the book in Weatherfield.
No,
not even Lisa.
Well, we've seen Craig certainly doesn't.
So she's having a go at him, and then Mason pulls this line: "It's not my fault she preferred her other mum." Ooh. And she's like, "You want to know why I hate you so much? Let me show you. Here are photos of my dead wife."
I don't know whether
pretty hard.
I don't know whether it was full on graphic gore or whether it was just blood.
Yeah. It's pretty grisly, and and she tells him Logan and Matty were in the car. And he says, "What? I don't, He says,
"Oh, that's a coincidence, isn't it?"
That's
don't
weird.
Mention it.
That's weird because we weren't even in the show before, and neither were you.
No, it just turns out that we all happen to be related.
Oh, funny. He's like, "I've got nothing to do with them. I don't talk to them anymore," and she doesn't believe it. And Tim sort of happens to be passing, and is like, "What are you having to go at him for?" And she's like, "People like him will never change."
Is that Mason could have joined the club, didn't he, when he nearly hit Eliza the other year?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it does run in the family to be bad at driving.
Yeah, maybe it was like Daddy Radcliffe that gave them their driving lessons. And like, if somebody's in the road, it's their own fault.
Yeah, no pedestrian.
Driver's got the right of way.
Yeah,
that's what the Radcliffes believe.
That's the Radcliffe Highway Code. Run them over. Tim and also Carla's in there somewhere too, just dooring people. Tim and Mason go back to number 4. Tell Sally about what's happened.
When Mason goes to Germany, he's going to find that rad means wheel, and
what does cliff mean?
I don't know whether it
Wheel
means
cliff.
anything. Yeah.
Doesn't sound very good, does it?
No. Anyway.
He's also going to have to drive on the other side of the road, which might cause problems.
He's probably going to just miss everybody. He'll be fine driving on the wrong side of the road.
Right. Anyway, they go back and they tell Sally what's happened. She's shocked because she's what? Your brothers? I knew they were ruffians, but I didn't know they were murderers. So Mason's panicking. He texts someone and says, "I need to see you right now." And it turns out to be Dylan. And now Dylan has gone in this week from, holding a grudge against him for all the trouble that he got involved with to now being his henchman. Because when they meet in the precinct, Mason lays his plan out. They're going to go to his brother's flat and find these stolen goods that Lisa had a list of. That she showed him. So,
I was a bit confused. You had to explain what was going on there.
So originally, the crime was committed by two people that were on the run after having done a burglary. And I've seen some people get confused. This wasn't Lisa's stuff that they stole. It was just a burglary they'd done. And there was a list of things that had been stolen, including a World War II helmet and a flat screen TV and an air fryer. And so they'd put this stuff in their car and they were escaping the scene of the crime. And Becky had obviously found them and was sort of trying to stop them, like Lisa had that with whoever it was that tried to run her over.
Oh yeah, and Joel's murder week.
And so she gets killed as these people are getting away, and nobody knew who these people were until she's put it together now that it was Logan and Matty.
Why would you steal a World War II helmet?
Well, to keep it in your flat for years, apparently, because this happened like 5 years ago, and obviously by this point,
Was it 5 years ago? Air fryers weren't a thing 5 years ago.
I think it was years ago, 3 years ago. Anyway,
maybe it was. Yeah,
that's the only thing that they could really have off that list that would be obvious. That how many World War II helmets would there really be?
Yeah, I just think it's
about.
if you're going to steal a World War II helmet, I assume it's to take it down to the pawnbrokers, but...
No, you keep it. You sell the other stuff, but the World War II helmet
maybe they use it
cool.
as like a crisp bowl when they have their dinner
parties.
Maybe.
I just love the fact that I love the idea that some people out there think that Lisa had in her house a World War II helmet.
I've not seen anybody think that.
Right, so she's got this list of stuff. She showed it to Mason, and Mason knows that if he finds these things in his brother's house, that will link them to the crime. So he goes with Dylan and breaks into the flat, and they take this World War II helmet to the police station to prove this link. I mean, chain of custody, evidence, fingerprints, forget it. He's ruined everything. But in Weatherfield, I think this doesn't...
Lisa doesn't care. She just jumps on any way that she can to get these two collared.
Lisa's thrilled. She puts it in a bag. She takes it to Kit, and Kit says, "I'm gonna bring him in." Then Mason goes to Betsy and tells her, "I'm leaving Weatherfield, and by the way, my brother's killed your mum."
He doesn't sugarcoat it, really, does he?
No. And Betsy's just there, gaping like a goldfish. So the Ev's like, "Oh my!" Like it doesn't give her any time to process these two really important bits of information.
I don't know what a nice way to break that news to.
Well, sit down.
To the bird you've just boinked.
Would you like a crisp from my World War II helmet?
I might. That's the sort of thing that maybe I might put into ChatGPT and just describe the situation and say, how should I break it to Betsy? Because I'm sure it'd give you a better job than what Mason actually ended up doing. Because she ends up dumping him in the end, doesn't she?
Well, he says, "Look, I've got to leave Weatherfield because my brothers are gonna find out I've done this. It was me who dobbed them in, and I need them. I need to be safe. So I'm going to go to Germany to cook some carbonara." And Betsy's furious, and she says, "You're exactly the same as your brothers. You're bad blood. We're over. I don't want to ever see you again." Oh dear. Then we get Swains seeing Kit bringing Matty and Logan into the police station, and in the evening, Mason's telling the Metcalfs what is going on and why he's going to Germany, and him is like, "Oh, that's sad," and Sally's like, "Yeah, oh well, we think you're a nice bloke, but if they don't know how to make carbonara in Germany, who else will do it? You have to help them."
For the good of Europe.
But it's for international relations. Now we're not in the EU. We need somewhere sucking up to the rest of the countries in Europe. And if it takes England to teach the rest of Europe how to cook, then we're going to have to do it. Because God knows they need help over there, don't they?
Yeah.
So at the station, Kit tells Lisa the brothers have just been saying no comment and that he's not getting anywhere with interrogating them over the murder of Becky.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in Mason's shoes when they get out.
No, I mean, I don't know I don't know whether this is going to go anywhere now. Do you? I can't see how this is going to be the smoking gun. I mean, it was obvious they've done it. It's obvious they've done it, but how does that prove? How does that prove it?
I mean, I think they're just going to be let out on bail, and they're going to be
go on a rampage.
Gunning for Mason. It seems.
I don't think
So
they're
I'm not
in it for
surprised
the long
if
haul.
he wants to disappear.
So
no.
I don't. Maybe they will. I mean,
we'll see.
There's more to it than this, isn't there? Because Kit's not able to get them to admit.
No, I mean you got your evidence that it is the smoking gun, like you said.
But the thing is, though, right?
But
they've already as good as admitted it to Lisa about 3 times, haven't they?
But they know that she can't use any of that as official evidence. They just like to taunt her.
I know.
What naughty men.
If only she had a phone in her pocket secretly.
Right. Okay. So that's that. I quite enjoyed all that stuff.
I enjoyed it.
Week.
I know the police stuff is getting on everyone's nerves, but like I said, this is interesting to me. And Kit remains a fascinating character to me because he obviously is not so much of a bent copper that every time he's involved with anything, he'll just go out of his way to ruin it.
Well, it makes me wonder, I wonder whether Kit will try and do something to plant further evidence in the Radcliffe's house.
Yeah, because he at one point had been threatening them to leave David alone, and then he told them, "Don't worry, I don't care about David anymore."
That's the next story. Kit infiltrated a variety of storylines.
But I like the way he's like, as long as he gets his way and he feels as though justice is done, he doesn't care how it happens.
Yeah,
which is so chaotic.
Yeah, he just needs to go around to the Radcliffe's house now and daub.
I did it.
I did it. We killed Lisa on the wall in red blood or something, and then. That's it. That's the evidence.
That's easy peasy.
We'll see, won't we? So you said that Kit was going up with David this week, and that's what the next story is. So we're going to talk about the Shona shenanigans that went on Monday, which is quite a lot. Quite a lot. So David's back. We found out at the end of last week that he was going homeless, wasn't he?
Well, he
was loitering around outside Joel's flat. And after spending one night out on the street, he decided that maybe the home comforts of number 8 are a little bit more preferable than that. So he comes back to the street and he speeds down the road towards Kit in his car, which leads to an argument in the middle of the street between them, which Bernie has to come and break up. And there were a couple of scenes on Monday, wasn't there, with Bernie kind of taking Kit's side, and I'm going back to Bernie, stay away from him. The whole thing with Kit being related to the Foreman Winter kind of clan just seems a little bit unnecessary.
But I like this because Bernie's his kind of unwitting accomplice, isn't she? Because she'll take Kit's side until she's got a reason not to.
Well, particularly
because he's a kid. Well,
yeah, particularly because the relationship between them is on the brink of collapsing at any moment anyway, because of how much she had to grovel to get him to accept her as his mum. So maybe this is an opportunity, Bernie thinks, to cement that bond
I don't
got.
think she's that calculated. I just think that she, that's how she is with her family. She's family first, then there's a hierarchy of everything.
Well, Bernie kind of gets wind of the fact that there might be something going on between Kit and Shona in the cafe later, because Daisy makes a remark about him saving a seat for her, so she kind of wants to know what's going on there. But meanwhile, you got David back at home with Lily, who saw him having this argy-bargy with Kit outside the Rovers, and he says, "Look, I just needed a bit of alone time, that's why I've not been here. I had a row with Shona, and she's worried that they're going to split up. Max and Shona come in, send Lily up to the bedroom so that they can kind of let Max know what's been going on. Shona starts... David says, look, you need to come clean about your one-night stand. And Shona says, look, what you did to me... that
was worse.
That was a whole lot worse. They basically just kind of have a bit of an argument in front of...
how are we going to explain our argument to the wider family without confessing to both being absolute arseholes to each other?
Well, we've kind of discussed already about who's the most at fault here, and they're both pretty much as bad as each other in this sense, although I still think that what Shona did was a little bit worse. But anyway, Max finds out the terrible truth after Lily goes upstairs, and David says, I just can't forgive you, Shona. He also tells Sarah as she comes in as well.
Max and
Max is grown up now.
You might as well just tell everybody at this point.
Yeah. So I think everybody knows.
Or does Lily know?
Well, apart from Lily, all the grown-ups now.
Lily.
David, Sarah and Nick are having a chat in the bistro later, and Nick says, well, you brought this on yourself, really, David. You were gaslighting her after all. But you do really need to fight for your marriage. Sarah's on his side for that as well. And for whatever you do, drop this vendetta against Kit, because that's not get you anywhere good. And David says, look, I just know he's a bent cop. And Sarah's like, yeah, he is actually. And what do you mean?
Shut up, Sarah.
Because Sarah knows about him planting evidence in Nathan's van, doesn't he? And David's now got this hot goss against him and kind of swaggers up to him in the precinct later, saying, oh, I guess I know something you don't want me to know. And Kit thinks, well, you just trying to get a confession out of me. And then he quite unexpectedly smashes up his own windscreen with his asp, doesn't he? Before arresting David and saying, he did it. I didn't really...
To yourself.
I didn't particularly enjoy this part of the story, to be honest. And then it all kind of comes to nothing in the end, doesn't it? Because Kit kind of thinks... she thought better of it later on, and
Sarah
lets
and
him go.
Bernie both turn up, and so he just. I thought it was weird because Kit's now broken his own windscreen, and he's let David know that he is full of hot air, and that he has not actually gone through with arresting him. So why are you threatening it?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I love how psychotic he is because. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah, when just smashing his windscreen just out of nowhere, that does kind of prove that he is...
What else is he going to do?
Yeah.
He's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Shona's saying that I'm going to go and stay with a mate or cousin or something in Denton. And then you get Kit coming to the pub and getting a very frosty reception from Daisy. She's
still mad about the fact that he had slept with Shona and she might be carrying his baby.
Yes.
And she doesn't want it to be his. She wants it to be Daniel's
baby. Anyway, we learned that Kit's saying it was some kids that did the windscreen now, so he's kind of cooled down a little bit.
With a shopping trolley. How do you get a shopping trolley to do that?
No, you probably could.
You'd have to have used it specifically to recreate somebody hitting it with a stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not an insurance adjuster. I don't care. Do what you want.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Just pay out for everyone. Left alone with Shona later, David grills her about how long she's fancied Kit for, and she says, "Look, I was just really mad when you did what you did. I've not forgiven you, but I'm prepared to work on this relationship if you are."
I would have slept with anyone. It's just coincidence that he happens to be incredibly tall and handsome.
Yes. So she marches into the pub later and tells Kit to leave David alone. This gets Daisy even madder.
Oh, no.
And then back at number 8, David's bagging up Shona's stuff so that she can go up to her cousin. I'm just reading through these notes here and thinking, I don't remember. Yeah, this bit of the week really was not inspiring to me.
Well, yeah, because Daisy and Kit are talking and he's telling him it was David, but I can't bother to do the paperwork.
Yeah.
And Daisy's like,
no, it's not because of that. It's because he knows about your various conquests and all your other naughty bits and pieces that you've been getting up to. And Kit's like, don't worry, I can handle this. And Daisy says that this isn't working. We're over. Relationship finished.
Oh.
Yeah. And then that's
she bought him that jumper. He didn't even get her anything.
No, he didn't in the end.
She should have held out until she got a present at least.
Yeah. Shona, meanwhile, is kind of having second thoughts about leaving David. And then by the end of it, they decide that they're going to give it another shot, basically. You also had a few scenes of Daisy looking at baby stuff on our Send PX, isn't she? She's liking them.
Yeah.
You said that you thought that might be... somebody's going to notice that she's liked baby things and that's how it's going to come out that she's up the duff.
I know that you can't see what other people like on Twitter anymore, but you
Send
can...
PX has got completely different rules, Gemma. Yeah. So Kit at the end of the episode goes and meets up with the Radcliffes in the precinct and says, look, I know I said for you to back off David, but fill your boots now. Open season on Platt. So Tuesday's episode, he comes and tells David that you better watch your back because they're going to be coming after you. So he spends the whole episode being incredibly jumpy, thinking that they're baying for his blood.
Jump out at him.
Yeah. We have a little board game night at the Platts. David doing his Jenga tower, knocking it over.
Wasn't Jenga?
Well, oh no, it was the Weatherfield version of Jenga, wasn't it?
Brick
Towering block
enjoyment game.
Yes. And they have another heart-to-heart and say, look, I want to get back with you in my heart, but my head, it's just, I can't stop thinking about the fact that you've had it off with Kit. And I get...
That seems reasonable.
It does seem very reasonable. So he... he thinks that she's been shot later, but it was just her banging a gate.
Well,
That's basically
Tim setting off a firework, and he's paranoid.
Oh, yes, it was.
Because he knows that the Warner Brothers are after him again.
Fireworks are their weapon of choice, aren't they?
Yeah.
Look, so she says, look, I'm not going anywhere.
And she also says, I haven't been shot. You know what they say in The Dog and Gun? Being shot once is unlucky, twice is just careless.
Yeah, that's funny. Friday, it starts to pick up a little bit because Matty and Logan come into the cafe when David and Sarah are there, and they offer a few smart alecky quips about, can you buy me some breakfast? I know you're flush at the moment. So Sarah's left a little bit, what's going on there about
Well, also, Lisa's in there, and she's earwigging about them, and she can see that they're having a go at David.
Yeah, that's how that ties into that story. But basically, not much happens on Friday's episode. They're just staking him out outside... the shop, aren't they?
This is hilarious.
Yeah, well, go on then.
Well, they're both sitting in there, in their car, and they're spying on David, about to attack him. And they pull their balaclavas down, and then Kit appears, and he's like, "Hello, lads. You get to Father Christmas bring you those." I thought that was brilliant. And then he's like, "Well."
And that's how they get arrested for the other thing that we've just spoken about. Yeah. So, yeah, is what I say to that. I think that I'm wondering whether David, knowing Kit's secrets, which are a lot more explosive than what Kit's got on David, probably. I think that, it's quite career-ending stuff that he knows. So I think that maybe down the line, he's going to reveal that. I think it's going to be, he's saying he's got in his back pocket for a while, David.
I'm just finding it really interesting how all the stories are converging, and you've got all these characters and all the different motivations, and how everyone has got a reason to be trying to do the other one in.
Yeah, it's making the notes this week a little bit tricky. Yeah, but it has been it's been fun seeing everything intertwine a little bit. But anyway, as long if it really is going to be back on with David and Shona, then I'm thrilled about that, because I was seriously worried that Shona and Kit were going to go into a proper full-blown affair over this. But I think the chances of that are probably pretty slim now, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What was the question?
David, Shona, you're reading the note for the next bit. I don't think that Shona and Kit are going to be having any kind of affair.
No,
she's not going to be going back for a second piece with him, is she?
Poor Kit's got no one to keep his bed warm anymore now. He's blotted his copybook.
Yeah. It just feels like, maybe it was a bit... I'm glad that it's over and done with, but maybe it was a bit of fuss over nothing in the end.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Daisy's pregnant, everybody.
Yep. Who's
Bethany
the daddy?
and Daniel come in. They're engaged and they want to have drinks. And Daisy's annoyed because it's just her and Jenny, and so they've got to serve them. And Jenny also is like, you better be careful with Daniel because you don't even know if this baby is his or not. And Daisy gets the impression that Daniel's not really into the engagement thing quite as much, and so she wants to speak to him properly.
Oh yeah, this is the great bit where was it Sarah and Bethany were talking about getting excited about dresses and all this stuff, and then you cut to David and Daniel, and one of them's like, David's like, suit, is it? And Daniel's like, yeah, I've already got one. Men, what are we like?
Men don't care.
Only need one suit for all occasions.
Yeah, you get born in it, you get married in it, and you die in it.
He's not going to his birthday suit, to get married in his birthday suit, is he?
Well, I'm sure some people would enjoy that. Anyway, so Daisy wants to talk to him later, but he has to do a speech, and Ken's there as well, so he has to show off.
Yeah, I was kind of half getting the impression, I suppose I still am a little bit, that he's not really, really into Bethany.
I feel like he's going through the motions.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was part of the idea of the suit scene, the suit conversation, that he wasn't that excited by it, but he knows what he has to do. He's still very conflicted about... I think if Daisy came up to him and said, look, drop Bethany and I'm all yours.
He would.
He would.
Yep, anyway.
But then he'd probably still go back to Bethany because he'd feel guilty about it. He's a bit of a... he's a bit of a squirmer, isn't he? He's
dilly-dallyer.
Yeah, I don't think... I think he probably would try to maybe have them both at the same time, just to avoid embarrassing himself. I don't know. Terrible. But, yeah.
Right, so, Bethany loves this speech, and Daisy's just, like, really mad about it. And when Daniel catches her later, saying, what do you want to talk about? And she's like, I just want you to know that we're definitely not getting back together again.
Oh, yeah, she was going to reveal the pregnancy news, wasn't she?
And it's all water under the bridge. And he's like, oh, that's good, because you still need to be my helper for Bertie, because that's convenient for me.
Yeah.
No, this man is just
Daisy and Bertie do have a lovely little relationship, don't they?
You're the closest thing he has to a mum, which is what you would say to somebody if you wanted to manipulate them into being the babysitter when you go out with your new wife.
You're really, really good at looking after, cleaning his clothes and making his tea.
Yeah.
Just saying. He doesn't have it from anyone else, Daisy.
Sarah spent a lot of the time recently, hasn't she? Like observing people who are pregnant and crying about it. She doesn't know that that Daisy's pregnant, but she comes in the back and finds her crying, like she had done Dee Dee. And Sarah's like, look, Daisy, I don't really like you, but can you tell me what's going on? What's wrong with you? And
yeah, she says it can't just be the engagement party. I think there's something more to it than
what's
that.
Going on. And Daisy says, I split up with Kit because he slept with Shona. And Sarah's like, I don't believe you. So Sarah then goes and catches Daniel up and asks him what's going on and says, you've been chatting with Daisy and I want you to sort of prove that you really do care about Bethany.
Yeah, she kind of says, look, the speech was all well and good, but you need to put your money where your mouth is and show Bethany that you actually want her and leave Daisy the hell alone. Because I can see you're still making googly eyes at her. And this is where she threatens to end him.
What's she going to do?
I don't know. She's so little.
He's got a swarm of dedicated prisoners that love to hear him talk about Shakespeare that he could stick on her, so she's got to be careful. Daisy tries to talk to Daniel again, and Sarah's like, to warn him about Sarah, but Bethany spots them chatting and pulls Daniel away.
Yeah, Bethany, she kind of, I think she knows that Daniel and Daisy are still, moving about each other's, maybe mooning after each other a little bit, because I think this pulling away is saying no, but I don't think she realises
quite how deep it is.
Yeah. Daniel clearly is very conflicted, and I think Bethany's just thinking he's got little lingering
know
feelings
deep inside that she's gonna be jumped like a sack of potatoes if that anything happens between him and Daisy.
Yeah.
So Jenny's like, Daisy, have you spoken to Daniel? Does he know about the baby? And Daisy says no. And Jenny says to her, it doesn't matter whose baby it is, but because I know you want you want it to be Daniel's and you want to raise the baby with him. And she says, I'm going to find out, I'm going to do a DNA test and I'll have to wait for 7 weeks. Then I can find out who the daddy is.
And it's all booked by the end of the episode, isn't it? Jenny's done it for her on her behalf.
Modern technology is ruining soaps. Because normally you'd have to wait months to find out whose baby it was.
Well, this is not even waiting 7 weeks till now, is it? It's 7 weeks of up the duffness that she has to wait for.
Yeah, it's not 7 weeks from now. It's 7 weeks pregnancy, which is nothing.
Yeah. No. That's going to be probably quite soon. But I think she's going to need some of either. She's going to need some of Daniel or Kit's DNA, isn't she?
How's she going to do that?
Well, I guess that working at the pub, she's going to maybe take one of their glasses and get a swab from that. Maybe
she's not an FBI agent, is she? She needs a natural saliva. Yeah, and they can take it off a glass if they're doing it for a criminal investigation, but I don't think that they could do it for. You're not supposed to do that anyway. You're supposed to just steal people's DNA.
Maybe her next initiative to get more takings in the pub is to make it into a Wild West saloon and have a spittoon installed.
Like, Daniel, no, this is your spittoon. You've got your own one.
That's my theory.
Okay, right. So on Friday, Daisy like gets really fed up, and she kind of like completely rejects everything to do with Daniel and Bertie. She brings around all of his stuff, and she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Bertie and I are over.
Yeah, she just doesn't want to invest too heavily until she's discovered who the daddy is.
Well, yeah, and she's saying it's going to confuse him, and Bethany's his mum now anyway, which I guess, she's right there.
Yeah, I think it would be weird.
I mean,
it was a really strange offer from... it's not strange knowing that... I think with Daniel, he's kind of sadly resigned himself to the fact that, I suppose I'm engaged to Bethany now.
Yeah.
And maybe by inviting Daisy to come round, it's his way of saying, well, I can't be going out with her anymore, but at least I can still have her around and it won't look weird if it's her, because she is really close to Bertie after all, and he's kind of kidding himself that it doesn't look weird, but it really, really does.
Well, look, if this wasn't a soap and this wasn't Daniel we were talking about, I would say this is actually really healthy and lovely. Lucky Bertie for having this woman who cares about him, and that's really nice of Daisy, and she is really great with him, etc. But because this is a soap and because this is Daniel, I just think he's just taking advantage.
Bethany would have to be incredibly patient and forgiving and understanding. Like, can you imagine her being in one day when Daisy calls round, like, oh, hi Daisy, you just come to do a bit of mumming for my foster
this
son,
is what you'd have to
Bertie,
deal with
at the moment.
If the biological mother was alive, you'd have to deal with this. But I don't think Bethany's mature enough, and I also don't think she cares about Bertie either as much as Daisy does at all.
No, I don't think. I think she does a little bit. I mean, we get the idea on Friday's episode that she doesn't have those maternal instincts.
Well, she just comes out and says it. It's not like
but as in she doesn't want kids of her own, we find out on Friday, does she? But she does say, well, like, Bertie's enough for me.
Hang on. Bethany comes in while Daisy's throwing this stuff going on, but I'm not going to be Bertie's babysitter anymore. And Daisy says that Daniel always wanted loads of kids, and this freaks Bethany out. She goes to see her mum, and she's like, I think we've gone too quickly here, because he wants more. What we haven't spoken about, so many important things. Like, I don't want any kids, and it seems like Daniel wants loads. And Sarah's like, oh, I didn't know you were one of these heartless, childless cat ladies.
Well, she says, oh, you Gen Zers, you and your childless lifestyle.
I think there's plenty of millennials, Sarah, that didn't get knocked up at
Well, no, let's just take it. We're down with the kids, aren't we?
Well, it's a global crisis, Sarah.
I was quite surprised by Bethany's revelation that she's not into kids, because I thought that all women on Coronation Street are desperate for kids.
Well, there are loads of childless women on Coronation Street actually, but not many of them by choice. But and when Bethany was saying this, I'm like, the end of the year you're going to be pregnant probably.
Yeah, totally.
And ironically, she is actually pregnant at the moment. The actress, he's being made to say that she hates children and doesn't want. I just thought that we'd be able to get. I suppose it doesn't matter now Gail's not in it, but I was waiting for Bethany to have a kid of her own so that they could have, how many generations is that now? Audrey, Gail, Sarah, but yeah, five generations together. Start young.
And yeah, well, I'm really surprised that Bethany has been kind of back in the show as Lucy Fallon for quite a while now, and she hasn't had a kid, because I was expecting that to be, within her first year of coming back, she'd have another kid, because it was... that's one of the things that makes the family kind of kooky and unique, is that they've got so many generations. And now she's saying, nah. So now we're just going to have to wait for Lily to step up, I suppose.
Somebody's got to do it, haven't they?
Oh, no, I suppose. Yeah, because it can't... No, yeah, Max doesn't count because he's not biologically related to the family, does he?
They all count.
Yeah, no, I know. But, if we're talking about blood, and this is the Platt dynasty.
I don't care about that.
But yeah, I wonder, so you reckon that Bethany is going to be...
Only because it's the sort of thing that happens in a soap where you make a declaration that you're never going to do something, and then, within the year, you're doing the exact thing.
Yeah, the thing is, like we've said before, Bethany is only going to be in the show for a couple more months.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to,
maybe...
The unfortunate thing, what?
I'm wondering whether Fallon's going to go off pregnant, and when Bethany returns to the show, she will be, with child, and she's had this secret baby off screen,
maybe.
Possibly.
The thing is about this, it's like catnip to writers and showrunners, where the idea of a childless woman, or a woman who doesn't want to have kids, is like a red flag to a bull. And they cannot help but make the character then realise the power of family, and that you can only truly find love if you squeeze it out of your vagina, if you're a woman. And
yeah, I was going to say, I haven't got...
Well, sorry, but men can't
find true love.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say which show it is because I think I've spoiled it before. It's the finale of like a very popular television show where they had a character kind of make this declaration, and it was really nice to see as somebody also does not have kids, like somebody saying, "I've thought about it, and this is what I've decided." And then by the end of it, they were happily crying and relieved that they actually were going to have a baby after all, because we all know that that's the correct way to do things. So Bethany making this declaration about not wanting to have kids. Coronation Street must know that it has lots of viewers who also don't have kids or have chosen not to have kids or can't have children for a reason. And they've always gone down the route of, you know, a woman who can't have kids is an interesting storyline. But a woman childless by choice is, you know, usually kind of treated a bit like dirt in fiction almost universally. Like Erica had the same thing where she was happily child free, and then she got with Nick, and then she got pregnant, and then she was looking down, you know, thinking maybe it will be great, and then she had a miscarriage, and it just kind of feels like you get punished if you're a woman and you choose not to have a kid, or you're not taken seriously, because when you have a kid, inevitably, of course, you will love it because that's what happens on TV.
I just kind of generally got the idea, and I don't know why, that Bethany probably would want to be a mum, because I can imagine her, you know, cradling a baby and treating her like a little dolly, or...
Well, yeah, but that's, you know, that's...
Yeah, no, I know.
The weight of society's expectations.
But anyway, we'll see how long they stick.
I would like to see this not just be a plot line to create a spanner in the works, but actually be... I don't know. I just always take it personally when it's something that's related to me. And, you know, the other thing we were talking about, bringing up EastEnders again, was the kill your gays trope, where on New Year's Eve, where they had the wedding, it looked like both brides were dead at the end of it. And I saw some people sort of saying on Twitter, like, I know that you guys don't understand why this is so upsetting and hurtful, but it really is. And I've gone, you know, sometimes I think, yeah, but it's drama and nobody has a smooth ride. And it feels kind of like inevitable that something terrible is going to happen at a wedding and people are just taking it personally. But then I think to myself, no, you are right. It is really hurtful when you don't get to see yourself represented very much on telly. And whenever you do, it's always the same old crap. And it always makes you feel bad about yourself and what your choices are. Not that you choose, you know, often whether you have a child or, you know, what your sexuality is or whatever. But it can just feel really wearing and kind of disappointing when you're excited about somebody who you think is like you, and then it gets ruined in some way because of, you know, it has to be done this way because that's the way fiction works, or, you know, to get over yourself is not personal, you know?
It's nice that you found a kinship in Bethany.
I don't think I have though, because I don't know.
Journalist who doesn't want kids. You're basically the same person, aren't you? Going out with a teacher.
Oh no!
You never thought of that before, either.
And I just all that time I was so jealous of her being able to write about air fryers. But you know what I mean. I don't think that you really understand what I'm saying.
Yes, of course I do.
Because I know, but I think it's really hard to put yourself in the shoes when you are catered to. And I don't want to have a go at you, because I think it's really unfair that people have a go at like white men for like being the dominant in culture, but you really don't know what it's like to just not see yourself, you know, like as a woman, as a woman of a certain age, as the phrase goes now.
Have you reached the age where you are of a certain age?
Yes, for years there was only ever one girl in everything.
The pink one.
There was always, if you play computer games, there was one computer character who was a girl. There was an ensemble show of superheroes. There was always a girl in it. Like when you watch Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, you had April O'Neil, and she was the girl. You know what I mean? It's only recently that girls get a wide range of different people that represent them.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had Kimberly and Trini, actually.
Groundbreaking stuff.
2/5 of the Power Rangers.
Yeah, okay.
I know that then Tommy came along and made it 2/6, but never mind. But I get your point in general. There was usually only one character with eyelashes and a bow.
And it's not your fault, but you don't really get... And I don't really get, because everyone's white all the time, you know? I mean, up until recently, everyone was always white in everything I watched. I feel that, you know, I didn't understand how important representation was for certain groups of people until I really thought about it. And I know this is all getting really deep.
This is deeper than I think that this story was supposed to be.
I know, but that's just what I mean. Like, don't make identities a throwaway line in a story when if you...
Well, let's see if they stick with it.
I think maybe some people are listening and think I'm going off on one again, and maybe some people are listening and they understand what I'm saying. It's just kind of disappointing. I was kind of disappointed in this because I think I can see... I just think it's going to be thrown in our face.
You're just kind of projecting a negative outcome here. The episode doesn't end with her saying, you know what, actually maybe I would like a baby in my belly, because she also she goes to she starts to have doubts about whether she should stick with Daniel, doesn't she? Because she tries to break up with him. Yeah. And he's like, well, I used to want a load of kids, but now I think I'm happy with just Bertie. And so they end up that they're going to stick together. Yeah. So it's looking fine. Although, obviously, the course of true love is not going to run smooth here because there is the elephant in the room. But it's just catnip, Michael. Can you see what I'm saying? It's just catnip. It's the same as religion. It's the same as, like, with Dee Dee and Billy. And I think they've really corrected themselves on how they're treating Dee Dee. I think they've done a really good job on representing a religious character in a more sympathetic way. But before Dee Dee turned up, when a character on Coronation Street would turn up and go, I'm a Christian, you just know the writers were foaming at the mouth to go, oh, really? Oh, are you? Well, you won't be when I've finished with you. I'll tell you that for nothing. Yeah, crisis of faith story incoming. Yeah. Or you're going to be a nut job. Well, yeah, if you're going to be some kind of fanatic. Although Emily, you know, goes against that, doesn't she? Because she was very lovely all the way through. She was grandfathered in, quite literally, from a time when everyone was religious. And it would have been... You would have been watching it and you knew that if somebody turned up in 1962 and went, I don't go to church, you were like, they're going to die. Yeah, that was the how smoking is now. That's how you can tell that someone's a villain now. They're an evil criminal. Yeah. Although we haven't even seen Matty and Logan with even a vape, have we? You'd think they would be definitely. Logan was eating a bag of sweets. Was that this week? It was menacingly eating from a striped white and pink bag of bonbons. He offers one to Kit and he's like, oh, no, because I'm 31. Sorry, Kit, but when you get to 40, you'll realise the importance of a lovely sweet. I don't think I've ever been off sweets. I don't think it makes sense to say that sweets are age-related. I mean, how much does Rita love numbing on a boiled sweet from the corner shop? That is true. That is very... Well, I would know if they would ever have scenes in the cabin. Maybe they've shut down because nobody's buying sweets anymore because they're all over it. There were people complaining, rightly so, I think, about that. I think it was on the forums earlier this week about the fact that the cabin is never featured. And it's been like... I'm going to say at least 2 years, maybe 3 since it's ever had any kind of regular appearance. And yet it's there, right, literally in the middle. Well, it's not in the middle of Coronation Street, but pretty much in the middle of the street. Should be the heart of the show. If not the Rovers, it always used to be the Rovers and the cabin at the heart of the show. And people are complaining that the Rovers is empty these days, but at least we're seeing it. Yeah. I guess, I mean, maybe it does reflect modern times and the fact that people don't go to the paper shop anymore. But if that's the case, maybe it's time to get rid of it. Well, we said the same about the factory, but they've made it more... It's easier to have scenes in the factory. And I think Coronation Street is just really adverse to making any major changes to the agreed upon look of the street, aren't they? You know, you can't bulldoze anything because Coronation Street looks like this. You can build up your other things around it. Wow. But back in the day, the frontage of the street, especially that side of the street, changed more often than Ken Barlow changed his pants. Can't believe it. And that was fairly regularly. Anyway, Bethany said to Daniel, I don't want kids, and he's like, I don't want any more anyway. Yeah, so it's all fine. I loved also this tacit admission that I don't think he's self-aware enough to understand what he just said. But Daisy was telling Bethany that he said he wanted a football team's worth of kids. And then when Bethany asks him about this, he says, it's a lot more work than I thought it would be.
I don't want it anymore. It's like, as long as some other woman's doing it and raising the kids and doing all the stuff, I don't mind having a football team. But as soon as I'm involved in any method, any element of child rearing, I only want one. And
Well, Daniel's got the excuse of, nobody raised me. My mum disappeared when I was
why
12
can't
or
Bertie
something.
simply raise himself?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe his
Cast them out
problem is
into the
like,
wild.
yeah, Bethany, I thought about it a bit more, and I don't have enough money to raise my children individually in houses separate from one another.
Was Daisy, and maybe this was something really obvious that I missed, was she in the room at the pub at the end where, yeah, she was talking to them when they were saying we're still on, and did she hear them say Daniel's decided he doesn't want kids anymore?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Because that would probably be quite crucial, wouldn't it? If she wants to have Daniel's baby and she's like really got her fingers crossed that this baby in her tummy is his, now she's heard him say, actually, I don't want kids anymore, that's gonna...
Yeah, but if Daisy's pregnant, that's fine, because Daisy will do all the work. But if Bethany was to get pregnant, Daniel knows he'd be left holding a baby while she goes and writes, top 5 air fryers for 2025.
No, but she if she's now heard that Daniel doesn't want to have kids...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I was just making a joke.
Oh, fine. Anyway, so that's what was been going on there.
There's so much darkness. And
there is so much,
I think we should move to something a bit more light-hearted, like elder
poisoning.
abuse.
This is something else that people have been
factitious disorder imposed upon another.
This has really got the goats of the online complainers, and I think possibly rightly so here, because
I just try to avoid online stuff, negative stuff.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
The only thing I see now is Swarla fans talking about how much they love Carla and Lisa, which is totally all I want to... I just want people to be happy and enjoy stuff.
Kate Brooks has said that this is a really nice relationship that Ken and Cassie have got, and it's all very sweet. And at the moment, I'm still... in the half of me is thinking, yeah, it kind of is.
I haven't seen any of her comments.
I just can't reconcile that with what I'm seeing on screen, which is Cassie doping him up with antihistamine or whatever it is that she's poured into his tea. But just to
point out that Kate Brooks is going to say certain things that are going to be intentionally... Everyone involved in Coronation Street, from the press to the actors, are going to say things that are sometimes misleading in order to protect the future outcome of a storyline. So you had, like, Ali King talking about Swarla and saying, oh no, I don't think that Carla's interested in a relationship right now. And that was all misdirection to make it more interesting when they actually did get together. You know? So when Kate Brooks is saying, oh, it's a wonderful relationship between Cassie and Ken, it's not like she's got a lobotomy and she hasn't realised that Cassie's poisoning him, because she actually is involved in the show. I don't know why I haven't heard... I don't know the context of what she's said it or when she's referring to.
But the problem is, it is really sweet and cute what's going on apart from the poisoning thing. I absolutely
There's always one fatal flaw, isn't there?
I absolutely love Ken and Cassie together, apart from the fact that he doesn't realise that he's being drugged. And I know that's just a small little thing, but it really just stopped me from fully committing to this.
It's like me.
Little
I'd
friendship
be
they've got going on.
a perfect woman, wouldn't I, if it wasn't for my fatal flaw?
Which is?
I'm going to let you tell me what that one is.
Maybe that's after recording.
I think it's I spend too much money on food. Definitely, that's my only vice.
That's your only vice. Apart from that, absolutely perfect, darling. So anyway, Steve on Monday is telling Ken that it's time he started looking for somewhere else to live, because I think Tracy had been making noises about that last week. Or maybe it had been Cassie, I can't remember. Yeah, it was Cassie, wasn't it?
Cassie told Steve to get his...
Oh, yeah.
To get himself sorted out.
Yeah. So Cassie starts doing a bit of...
manipulation.
A bit of crocodile tears later. She's crying. And I think I thought, oh, at last, this is going to be when she confesses that. Because I think that's what we're supposed to think. She's like, oh, Ken, I've done something really stupid. I can't believe it. Oh, I don't want to tell you. And then you think, oh, she's going to confess to the doping. And she's like, oh, I just went really overboard with buying Christmas presents for the family.
We don't have
and I blew the budget.
The accent up.
I do. I love doing the accent.
I know, but...
And I maxed out my credit card.
Right.
And now I owe a fortune. So she's...
Oh, I know what that's like.
Yeah, that's
my fatal flaw.
That's your vice, Gemma.
Yeah.
You have had a few, credit cards in the past. Anyway, Ken clearly falls for this.
I love him.
And offers to give her an advance on her wages. So she's like, oh, are you sure? Oh, go on then. This
What
is
is
the
it-
other thing with Cassie.
Don't be
we're
buying
seeing so
people-
little, so little with her at number 9 these days, aren't we? We had a little scene at the end of
Which one's that?
the Dobbs house.
Okay.
The house where her actual family live. Mm-hmm. I wish that we had a bit more interaction with them. We had that scene with her and Evelyn where she was like poo-pooing her ideas of signing up to do the law degree. But yeah, it is odd how she came in as Tyrone's mum, and that's just like a little footnote in a character bio now.
I know.
She's Ken's carer, front and centre. I don't, yeah. And,
man,
we're saying that it's quite nice plotting that the David, Shona, Kit, Cassie, Lisa, Carla, all of those stories are kind of weaving nicely in with each other. But yet you get this, and you get a person has nothing to do with her, son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren, apart from off-screen buying them a load of Christmas presents, apparently. Although that's not actually what happened, is she?
She didn't actually do this.
No, she's not. Anyway, Ken's offered to give her a load of money, so she's like, thanks very much. This is where we got... Well, on Monday, we have a few scenes of Brian and Yasmin having a bit of a gossip about them, don't we? Yasmin reckons that Ken's got the hots for Cassie, and Brian's like, no, don't be stupid. And that's the direction the story kind of weaves towards, meanders towards as the week goes on. Like, are they gonna be going to enter into some kind of relationship here? I mean, there was a bit of an age gap, wasn't there, between Ken and Deirdre?
The older you
Let's
get,
not
I don't
forget,
think the less
although-
it matters,
Although Deirdre wasn't as far away from Ken's
How
age
old is
as...
Cassie?
Cassie's...
In her 50s?
Yeah, I think she said she's 55 this week.
Can you really take...
Deirdre would be turning 70, wouldn't she?
The
Yeah,
reason
next
why
year.
you wouldn't... Like, age gaps are icky is when there's some kind of element of exploitation between the two. But I can't see how a man of Ken's age could be taking advantage of a 55-year-old.
Well, no, the only exploitation that's going on here is the other way around, isn't
Yeah.
it? Cassie's taken him for a
She
ride.
is, yeah.
Anyway, Steve and Amy are looking at flats later online, not really getting anywhere. Ken and Cassie have been to the ballet. They've had a divine time.
They went to go see Repo, the genetic opera.
Yes, exactly. And Steve and Cassie end up in the pub, and they have a bit of a... This is when they have their little sparring match over how many ballets that he can or can't name.
I literally don't know any. What, Madame Butterfly, is that one?
Yeah, and that was the one...
And what did they go see?
I think that's what they saw, wasn't it?
And what, I don't even know what he was
And then
talking
the
about other day.
Nutcracker was the other one.
Oh.
I don't think there are any other ballets.
No, ballet or opera.
Yeah.
They're talking about operas.
They talk about both.
Oh.
Yeah. Carmen's an opera,
What
isn't it?
about
Is Phantom of the Opera an opera, or is it just a
musical with opera
misnomer?
songs? What
don't
about
think it is. Does Barcelona by Freddie Mercury count as an opera, even if it's just one song?
what about that episode of The Simpsons
Which one?
where they kidnap Bart? Where he kidnaps Bart and he sings him.
Oh, HMS Pinafore. That's
Yeah.
just a musical.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a difference. Otherwise you'd be
It's not-
calling a Les
it's not-
Mis and
It's not a musical.
Starlight
It's
Express.
an animated rendition of some songs from a musical.
Yeah. Anyway, never mind. We
I'd rather
couldn't
see
do
that, to be
any
honest
better
with you.
than Steve on this front, basically. Listeners,
They would-
write in and tell us some more ballets
They
and
wouldn't
operas
let
that
me
you know.
into the opera now.
Recommend us one. I don't think we've ever been to the opera or the ballet, have we?
I've been to a ballet performance.
Have you really?
When I was a child, my parents took me to a performance.
They're trying to make you a real girl.
I nearly ruined the whole thing. I've told this story before on the podcast.
What did you do? I don't remember.
Well, it was the interval, and my mum and dad went out for a drink, and they didn't come back in time. And the curtains were rising, and the dancers were beginning to dance,
Yeah.
and I was just literally about to stand on my chair and start shouting to stop because my mum and dad hadn't come back when they came and sat
How
down.
old were you here? 15?
I must have been, I don't know, 6, 7. I don't know why they left me by myself.
You've not been enticed to go back and see anymore.
I was really traumatised by that because at the time I was traumatised by the fact that they nearly started without my parents. But then as I look back on it, as I've got older, I cringe on the memory of the fact I nearly stopped like the English National Ballet Company from.
Isn't it the Simpsons joke where Homer's thinking about the ballet and he turns and you can see inside his thought bubble and there's a little bear driving around in a car. If it was like that, maybe. Anyway, what happens? Yeah, Ken at the end of the episode tells Amy about this loan that he's made to Cassie, and that comes out later in the week. Little bit on New Year's Eve, not a whole lot. Cassie invites Ken to the pub. We see her pouring some medicine into the sherry, but she's having doubts. She's having the same look that Leanne had every time she ordered something on Toya's fake credit card account, isn't she?
Oh, I shouldn't.
Just to show that she is redeemable,
but just as a
viewers.
treat to myself, I'll give her a bit of poison.
And yeah, they have a nice little scene at the end where, again, I say it's a nice little scene, but he's literally being drugged by her.
I know, it's really hard because number one,
she's drugging me with her lovely Scouse accent.
Well, number one, like Claire Sweeney is great. Number two, Cassie's, because of her, Cassie's a charismatic character, and she's so bubbling, full of life and fun. This is why criminals get away with so much stuff because it's like, oh, but she's funny.
It's the same as the Leanne and Toya. I just can't see how this story can end satisfactorily. Either Cassie's going to leave because it turns out what she's been doing, or Ken will just say, well, I forgive her because she's great, and everybody else don't mention it again, and that's just completely narratively unsatisfying.
Yeah, but this is what happened with Daniel when he pushed Ken down the stairs. Ken was like, we shall speak of this no more.
That is.
You know, because
that's totally up Ken's
because Ken's got
remit.
the same, he could use the same justification, like, Cassie wouldn't be able to have drugged me if you didn't abandon me. Although they did offer to help him, and he said he wanted Cassie to do it, not them.
It's a shame because the chats that they have, and I genuinely do believe that Cassie does enjoy her time with Ken, and she's not just doing it to get money out of him.
Well, this is the difficulty about this factitious disorder, like what you want to call it, Munchausen's, if you want to call it that, where it's such a disgusting thing to do to somebody who is in your, what's it called? Under your care. But what Cassie's doing, I think Cassie's doing it is because she's scared of being like redundant, not like in an employment way, but she's scared this relationship is only based on her providing care to Ken, and she thinks if he doesn't need her anymore, because he already told her that he didn't need her, and so if he doesn't need her anymore, she's lost her job and she's lost her friend.
Does it feel to you that this
story... It's still horrible.
Does it feel to you that this story has gone on for too long? Because it was an awful long time since Ken had his tumble down the stairs, wasn't it? Like, no. This story's been good 6 months going
this is
so
why
far. And it's not really... And it's been very, very slow.
Yeah, but soap should be doing stories like this that take a logical amount of time. And when a story gets rushed and we criticise it for condensing something... that should take a long time.
I don't know, just a poisoning or drugging or whatever feels like it should have a shorter shelf life than this. Like you had
She's not trying to kill him though, she's trying to keep him ill.
Yeah.
She's not trying to kill him.
It's a bit like the story
That's
when
fine then,
Teresa was poisoning Jerry Morton.
Yeah, look that up if you want.
And that was quicker. I don't know, it just feels like it's going around in circles a little bit. Anyway, Ken invites Cassie to stay over the night on Tuesday to Wednesday, which Tracy, when she rocks up on Wednesday, totally scandalised by this. Cassie's wearing Steve's dressing gown, which is, as we know, a very acceptable thing to do in soap, wearing someone else's dressing gown. We've certainly had that conversation on the podcast before.
I don't even like wearing your dressing gown.
Don't you?
No.
Well, you don't need to.
It's unhygienic. Wear your own dressing gowns.
Cassie kind of kids them on that she's bedded Ken before revealing that actually, look, he just let me stay over the night, it's fine. And Tracy on Wednesday is on a bit of a crusade against Cassie, isn't she? Did have a first slap of the year when Tracy gives Cassie a slap round the chops for saying how good in bed Ken probably is. I'm going to say she's probably not wrong after he is the Lothario of the street.
He's had a lot of experience.
Yeah. So they go back home and Ken's just like, oh, Cassie, what you like, don't make those jokes. Of course she's not interested in me. And then at some point Cassie says, oh, I when you said it was absurd that somebody like you would be interested in someone like me, did you really mean it? Because that's really kind of upset me. That was, and we were like, that's weird, isn't it?
What is she doing? What's she doing now?
If she really is turning this into, I'm going to seduce Ken and get him into bed, I think that would be, I toe the line at that. Like, I let her get away with a little bit of drugging, but don't do that to him, seriously. And do you think that Ken would? Because I don't.
Go after...
Well, no, do you think he would accept her advances? If she comes onto him in a more than platonic way... I know that Ken's a randy old bugger, and it's been a while since he's had a good love and a Claudia.
I don't know where this is going now.
I can kind of imagine there being a funny scene with Ken like going, I've still got it. I mean, he had it with Helen Lederer last year, didn't he?
Oh, true.
He just needed to go out to a bar and he's already been approached by famous comedians.
Yeah, trying to sell books.
Yeah. That was the most bizarre cameo last year. I don't know what happened with that. Anyway, Cassie gets in a narc with Evelyn later because Evelyn says that everyone knows what you're getting up to. Not the poisoning, but that you are ensnaring Ken. And Cassie's like, oh, sod off. At least I'm not trying to fake how clever I am by getting into university or something like that. Friday, Tracy wants to set up a spy cam. Does she do it? Does she put a spy cam up?
I don't remember.
Or was she just talking about it? I can't remember.
But she's onto her, isn't she?
The spy cam thing is maybe starting to get a little bit overused because Leanne's done it and Maria's done it this year.
But it makes sense because the technology's there. Why wouldn't you use it?
I suppose so.
But now this is interesting. She's not going to catch what she thinks. She's not going to be looking for this. So
no,
where's she going to set? She's not going to set up the.
I think that she put it in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, isn't she?
Yeah. No, I think that she was.
Why?
Just so that, I don't know,
but
looking through the lounge. You're not going to
catch a conversation about money in the kitchen.
It's a very small downstairs area.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah, I guess that maybe she's going to...
It's basically open plan living, isn't it? Because that door never closes.
Yeah. I guess that she's going to see her pouring the medicine in. I hope so. I just need it to come out really now. Anyway...
Oh, I don't know what's going to happen.
Tracy has been told later on by Amy, I think, about this loan that Ken's given to Cassie, and Ken... says, no, it's fine, she's paid me back. I quite enjoyed it when he said, I just wanted to take the wind out of her sails, Tracy's sails. Don't worry, Cassie, I 100% trust that you'll give me this money back. So that was kind of fun.
I was confused here because I thought she did actually give him the money.
I know, I couldn't remember.
And
I'm glad that they confirmed that she didn't.
That she's actually being really canny if she did do that, because then she's proving trust.
Being canny with Kenny.
And then she can borrow more the next time and then not give that back.
Yeah, maybe. I really enjoyed Ardy in his monthly appearance that we got in that scene where he's sitting next to Amy, who talk about relationships that have been taking a long time to come to anything. This has been, how long has it been since he nearly married Minnie Gibson? That's going on
before
2.
She was in Doctor Who.
Yeah, so that's 2 years now.
Doctor Who ago.
Yeah, 2 years. Ardy has been kind of sniffing around Amy. If I was Amy, I'd be like, do you want me or not? It's weird. Every now and then they'll have a scene where it looks like he's going a bit gooey-eyed for her, and then we see nothing more for 6 months. And I really like the idea of these two. They've done it with Brian and Mary as well, and I'm not obviously as fussed about those two as being a couple, but it's odd how they sometimes do tease these couples and then nothing comes of it.
Not everyone's relationship is conventional.
I know. He's there trying to escape this family gathering with Amy, Tracy and Steve later, and then he's asked what he thinks about Cassie, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is above my pay grade. So Tracy's going off to a spa or something and tells Steve, keep a close eye on Ken. And Amy says, look, Mum's just jealous of her. It's absolutely fine. Cassie is definitely on the level.
Yeah.
And that was that.
That's your inheritance though, Amy, that he's giving to Cassie. You've got to remember that.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose for a minor non-police or hospital related story, we can't complain too much of it.
Well, it's sort of medical.
Well, he went to hospital for a bit last year, didn't he? But it's mostly at home. Oh my gosh!
Is this the last story?
No.
I can't believe it.
We've still got loads more to go. Well, there was an extra half an hour this week, wasn't it? We haven't got a cabin section this week. If you're worried about the podcast overrunning, we have got some feedback because I've been very negligent in my feedback sessions recently. But yeah, the Evelyn story. Speaking of legal things and all things justice.
Is it me?
This is you. This is Evelyn.
Evelyn has been mulling on the fact that she is not achieved much in her life, and certainly nothing to speak of in the last year. And she's bemoaning this to Roy. And he says, why don't you just go to university and get those qualifications? And she says, I've got no chance.
Is she? He's trying to tell her to get an ology, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, she needs an ology.
Is it an ology or is it not, though?
I don't think
criminology.
It is. Oh, it's not lawology, is it?
No.
Cassie goes to the house and tells her that, making fun of her for trying to do anything in her life. And as the new year rolls in, she's decided that it's going to be 2025 will be her best year ever, and she's going to make something
best year ever, says Evelyn. Soap phrase of doom.
Because the next day she can't even work out how to apply. She's struggling to apply for this course online, and then also we get distracted because as the actions taking place in the Dobbs Stape house,
which is number
9.
Yes.
Only because I read that a minute ago and I ignored it. Hope is pulling pranks on everybody, like putting gravy granules in the tea and putting salt in the sugar.
I thought it was very wholesome of Hope when at first she declared that her New Year's resolution was to do something nice to somebody every day, but then it turns out no, she's just pranking people for her legions of Instagram followers.
Well,
is this a new thing for Hope?
I think this is going to be her thing. Is it going to be an issues-based storyline about online harassment?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say she is too young to be... Is she too young to have a social media account? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. They don't care about that, do they? They let anyone do it.
It felt... I didn't write very much about this because it felt like just general throwaway.
I think the more will be made of this.
I think it will be because basically the way that this prank thing goes, it's first she's putting gravy granules in Evelyn's tea. And then
Tyrone's salt and sugar.
Oh, yeah. But then she's having a laugh about it with Joseph, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she said, I got to go bigger. So that's clearly going to lead to something. I don't know what.
Like you did before.
But I don't mind more in the Dobbs household.
It's obviously going to all go too far, isn't it? And then we'll learn to not play jokes.
Will it involve flames?
I hope so.
She's like, I'm just going to set a little fire just to try and worry my mum.
Just a small one. This is how you get on drugs.
If I was Fizz, I'd be worried because Evelyn and Tyrone have both had their pranks pulled on them, so it's
she's very flammable, isn't she?
Yeah, and Ruby's laughing along with it, but it wouldn't surprise me if she's not an upcoming victim as well. Yeah.
Right. So Evelyn tells Roy that she's applying and asks him for a reference, and he's already prepared one. Isn't that adorable?
That was adorable, yeah.
And she tells Tyrone that she's applied, and he thinks...
Again, probably ChatGPT.
He thinks she's pulling her leg, and she gets annoyed because she thinks she's just a big joke to everybody. And she's in a really bad mood, and when Cassie comes in, she argues with her about Ken. And Cassie's just laughing at her. And Tyrone realises that it is all for real and tells her that she can do it.
That was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I do like Tyrone and Evelyn.
On Friday, Evelyn has been called into an interview.
I can't
that
believe
day.
How quickly things have moved. It's so ridiculous.
They've obviously got a trial period coming up that they can offer.
Maybe. Again, when is this law course supposed to be starting? Because I was just under the naive impression that most courses started in September,
I think you can
October.
Start in January for some.
You can just start whenever. And
you can't start whenever.
Have they got a deficit in people signing up for law courses? And they're like, yeah, we'll have anybody.
Well, you get $3,500, don't you?
Do you?
Well, that's the tuition fee now, isn't it?
I don't know.
Anyway, so they're in the waiting room for this interview, and the woman who is going to interview Evelyn turns out to be the person whose name's tag she stole the other week.
That was funny.
And so she's like, "Oh, hello."
Well, we
I'll just move this out of the way.
That was brilliant. That was great, moving the nameplate out of the way,
just in case you're tempted.
When Evelyn walked into the room, and the woman said, "Oh, Evelyn Plummer, what a surprise!" Me and you were both like, "Are we supposed to know who this is?"
Well, I said the only person I think it could be
is the name tag person. Her. Yeah, but then I remembered that her name was Marjorie, so that's how we solved it together. I tell you what, we should be the next detective duo of Coronation.
We would be excellent at it, wouldn't we? We'd be so good at learning the secrets.
This is a fun little scene, wasn't it? With Marjorie
Evelyn
making things very difficult.
Sort of gives up almost immediately, doesn't she? And she's like, right.
Yeah, she doesn't like being on the back foot.
And the woman's like, well, if you don't like it, leave. And so Evelyn's like, well, I will then. And then she gets up and then she gives this impassioned speech about, how hard her life has been and how she thought for once she might be able to achieve something and sort of blaze the trail for a wave of old age pensioners to become students. But never mind, fine. And the lady's like, interesting.
She likes the cut of Evelyn's
She's
jib,
like a maiden
she?
aunt in a Jane Austen novel who's just been dressed down by the plucky heroine and then secretly goes away and gives them an inheritance of 10 guineas a year or something. So Evelyn comes home and she's like given up on everything. And
Cassie's going to be after those guineas.
Oh yeah, she will be. And she's mad about everything. But then she gets a phone call and she's like, whoever it is, you better be snappy because I'm busy and being a grandmother. And then she doesn't quite believe them at first, but then she rushes off and tells Roy that she got in. Hooray. And he says, I'll miss you. And she says, well, I'll still be around.
Oh, Maureen Lipman is so wonderful. And just the excitement that she had when she found out that she got the place, like, it was so palpable. It was a really lovely moment.
Maybe I should study law.
Yeah. Do you reckon? You could be a course mate with her. Anyway, this is all just very sad because it's clearly Maureen Lipman is going to be taking a bit of a step back from Coronation Street. I don't think it's going into spoiler territory because they are saying pretty much as this on the show, aren't they? Because Roy then has this scene with her in the pub later saying, oh, I'm really sorry that you're not going to be around. And she says, I'm still going to be pootling about here and there. And Maureen Lipman has said a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, or a month or so, that, yeah, I'm going onto a part-time basis on Coronation Street now. Is that right?
It feels like she's just going to be a guest star, which is, I'd rather have her, keep her for,
Is she going to be a guest star or is she not going to be in it at all? That's kind of my worry. I mean, she's always had a very kind of flexible relationship with the show, hasn't she? Because she's been going off to do stage shows whenever she fancies, and Coronation Street would be crazy to say, well, no, you're not coming back, you're only allowed to do this, which I think they do with some
I think they do with a lot
actors
of people
on Coronation Street. So I hope it's not going to be so obvious, but it's clearly going to be
well, she's been
a
on
bit
and
of
off.
a
We've
reduction.
felt this, and maybe this is just her making it official. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it would be sad to see less of Evelyn. But I hope that she gets that first in criminology or whatever she's doing.
I think that, I mean, lots of characters do go through vast dry periods, don't they? Where you don't see them really whatsoever. And maybe when Evelyn's been not treading the boards in rows or whatever Maureen Lipman's been getting her to, we have seen a fair bit of her, and it just means that we're going to see her the same amount as somebody who is generally
like
not being used very much. Yeah,
Have you
exactly.
seen Brian?
Yeah, Brian's
Brian?
Brian's a really good example. He's so rarely in it. I don't know how many appearances he got in 2024, but you know, if Evelyn can get 40 appearances in a year, that's still all right, isn't it? Obviously, we'd love a whole lot more, and the show is going to be worse off without her because looking at new characters that have come into the street over the past 5-10 years, she is right up there with, you know, the iconic and most popular characters, isn't she?
Evelyn was 38th, and she was in every month apart from September. She's in 75 episodes.
Okay, so maybe they have.
I'm going to look at Brian and see.
See what he did.
Brian was 75th, and he was in 27 episodes.
Wow, yeah. So maybe they are going to do something.
It's a shame because I don't even remember Brian exists most of the time, so I would hate that to happen to Evelyn.
But the thing is, when Brian comes into it, I wouldn't say he makes a big enough impression
I also don't think
to
that,
stick in your mind, but I think Evelyn still would.
I think that Peter Gunn really deserves more than Coronation Street give him.
Oh,
yeah. I think that writers will be gagging to if I got Evelyn in an episode, fantastic, I cannot wait to write for her. They'll make more of her appearances.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's the other one to compare it to, I suppose, is Kate Ford, who's also seemingly gone
Kate Ford, I do think she's
months.
come out and said that she's, for health reasons, not appearing.
Yeah.
As she's not full time. I think that's true.
Yeah, and yeah, we've definitely seen her coming in and out this year. So it's not the end for Evelyn, but we will be seeing a bit less of her, which is really sad because she's great.
No one ever goes and lives in Scotland or Wales, do they? They're always going to Spain or France or Germany. They never just go. You're only allowed to go seemingly to Ireland if you're Irish.
Crystal go up to Scotland.
Who's Crystal?
You know, Ryan's Crystal mate.
She was in it for 5 minutes.
Well, Peter and Susan went up to Scotland when
Alia went to Ireland.
Yeah.
she's like the only person, but she's come back already. She didn't go to there to
like
live.
it, yeah.
You have to have Irish blood to go to Ireland to live.
Yeah.
In Coronation Street. Otherwise, it's Spain.
Right, come on then. That's that for that
Revenge
story.
of the Sis. Am I doing this one?
Yeah, you do the Battersby stuff. We're in the home stretch now.
Leanne's had to stay over at Steve's, even though she doesn't have. She has somewhere to go, but she's sad, isn't she?
Yeah.
And Amy's having a right go at her because she's obviously seen this firsthand working at the bistro. She's like, "You're a cow. That little revenge plot of yours is just as bad as anything the Institute's done." So that really puts Leanne in her place. Mm. And Toya's just always, I don't know if she's doing this maliciously now, always being really nice.
Malicious niceness.
Yeah, like aggressively. Being really understanding and stuff. And she's like, "Oh, Leanne, are you okay?" And I was like, "Don't even talk to me."
No, she just clearly feels guilty about
she knows
bedding her man. And
she feels responsible for what Leanne's been pushed to, but she needs to understand Leanne is a grown woman.
And she knows that she wants to keep this Battersby sister bond strong.
She feels like it could now be cordial if they tried hard enough, but I don't think Nick or Leanne want that to happen. Nick's like, the CPS are going to charge Leanne with fraud. So
yeah, Toya seems to look like she's got a plan of sorts.
Well, I'm going to talk to Dee Dee, and Dee Dee's like, "Oh, look, can everybody on the street leave me alone? I cannot wave a magic law fairy wand and make everybody stop."
Tell you what, I bet Evelyn could think of a way to get Leanne out of this.
If Evelyn becomes a lawyer, that will now be the how many?
Well, we don't have poor Imran anymore.
The fourth. It's like police officers. There's a whole legal team on Coronation Street now.
Yeah, well, there has to be with the amount of crime that goes on.
Dee Dee says that she could be facing a custodial sentence for this. And Nick tells Toya that Sam is agreed that Toya can move in with them. And Toya's not really happy about this because she says, "I'm just really worried about Leanne. I don't really care about anything else." So Nick goes to the station and tells Lisa, Swain, "Can we just drop everything, please? Because, and if we don't, I'm not going to cooperate." And so that's what Swain knows then.
But yeah, and then Swain, that just kind of makes it worse, doesn't it?
Well, I love this because Lisa Swain has got no sympathy or patience with any of these idiots from this family because she's already had her sister Toya hold over the calls about killing her husband, mm-hmm. And if she gets a sniff of what Leanne said about that in the bistro over Christmas, the fact that Toya did kill Imran on purpose, she will love to haul
Toya that's
in.
Still a little bit dormant, isn't it?
I don't know. I hope that comes up again. But
well, has Abby? She was slightly in it this week, wasn't she?
Not really.
Not that much, but yeah. Watch this space on that one. I still say.
So anyway, Lisa's like, "Right, you've got to come into the station because we're going to formally charge you." And Leanne's like, "Oh, custodial," and Lisa's like, "If only you thought it all through." She's so smug. I love it.
She was mega smug. That was a great
crime,
little moment.
Doesn't she? So Leanne goes into the pub and she's absolutely fuming because she blames Nick for this, and she thinks that it's made it worse that he tried to interfere. And Toya's trying to calm her down, but Leanne will not have it. And then on Tuesday she's still mad and frosty about everything. But Nick and Leanne. They don't. Nick and Toya in the pub. They don't care. They have a lovely snog during the snow patrol scene.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That was it for that. It was kind of New Year's and then it was over, wasn't it? So just been put on ice for a little bit.
I just love how much of how oblivious Leanne is to her hand in the situation. She knows she did this, but she will not take any responsibility for it.
I know.
Oh. Magnificent.
She said, "Does it count in my defence if occasionally I gave a guilty look to the camera when I was ordering a pair of frilly knickers?" I didn't want to do it. Cassie's like, "I'm right there with your sister."
Yeah, it's not our fault, is it? We've just drawn this way.
The guilty look sorority.
Talking of someone who is
sorority,
up to no good, but it's not her fault because she's just written that way.
Lauren, you're not comparing Lauren to Jessica Rabbit, are you?
All these bad girls. It's not their fault. This is you.
She's not. Oh God, sorry. God, no, it was not. Max is just being a bit of a plonker about not telling
her that she's going to be in trouble.
Dee Dee says she's going to have a pretty hardcore prosecutor baying for her blood when this comes to court. I think you probably better tell Lauren so she's prepared for it. And Max is like, "Oh no, I don't want to make her feel sad or worried." So he gets talking to Lauren later and says, "Oh, it's going to be fine. You're going to win. Don't worry about it." Frankie needs you. That everyone will see that. It'll be right as rain. So Dee Dee's the one that later has to break the news to Lauren that she's going to be in for a bit of a hard time. She tries to do a bit of role playing with her, being the prosecutor, and Lauren doesn't do a very good job of defending herself. So, oh no, things are looking bleak for Lauren. She'll be fine. She's going to be totally fine, isn't she?
I think she'd go down.
Do you really? Do you really think she's going to go down for this? Not a chance,
Sadly,
says
I don't care because...
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care.
I'd rather she went away for like a year and then came back as like a different personality, because they've done this with people and they've turned them around and they've turned out to be really lovely characters. Like, you know, Kelly Nealon was like that. And I do think Kate Fitton's got so much potential, but not with Lauren as she is now.
Yeah.
Everyone hates her. I don't know anyone who likes Lauren. I think lots of people can sympathise with her. But, you know...
Even with, like, Betsy, who's the comparable character, I mean, she won the best newcomer in our awards, so clearly she does have a lot of fans out there. But I have also seen a lot of people saying, and we've said it as well, got no time for Betsy. Betsy was great this week. I really loved her, being loved up with Mason. But on the whole, I find her character very difficult to like. But with Lauren, I'm not seeing anybody saying, love Lauren, she's the best. Get her out, get her free. She's so misunderstood. Everyone's just like, this character does not work.
But I do think no, I don't think that's true. I think it's a mistake to believe that everyone should be likeable and that every character you should want to root for. And Lauren's a really good example of that, because they haven't made her likeable. And Coronation Street needs characters like that just the same as we need antagonists like Kit.
I'm saying it's not worked because they've wanted us to like Lauren. They've wanted us to care where she was when she was missing.
It certainly feels that way.
They've wanted us to want her to get out of prison. They've wanted us to feel sad when Frankie's got his whatever the medical condition he's got next. But all I'm seeing is people giving a big shrug to it. People complaining that they're saying, "Oh, Lauren's on our screen all the time." She's really, really not. I don't know again where she was in
vast swathes of the year. She was not on screen because she was pretending to be
the fact that when she appears on screen and she has a good 2 or 3 week.
She was
stint.
the 16th most featured character. She was in 119 episodes.
Then, isn't it? All right. But anyway, when she'll sometimes have a bit of a 2 or 3 week stint, and by the end of that, people are sick of her and saying, "Well, would you get her off the screen?" And 2 or 3 weeks isn't a load to feature. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what 2025 is going to have in store for her. I hope that they throw away the key, but I think that she'll be fine. So that then brings us to the end of our Street Talk section. But of course, we have to give our score for the week. Now. All of that, what we just talked about, happens.
I know.
But we didn't actually run too long on Street Talk today, considering there was extra half an hour.
And I complained about things.
I didn't have a whole lot to say about it. Some of the stories weren't making a huge amount of progress despite the extra bit of time. I enjoyed the Evelyn story despite the fact that it means less Maureen Lipman on the show. I quite enjoyed what was going on with the Warner Brothers. And even some of the Carla Lisa stuff was okay, but then there was that horrible... what's it called?
Medical.
No, hallucinating scene that was just silly.
Oh, by the way, I realised I said it was knocking in the cafe. It was dog barking that she heard.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah, Gemma has been doing some stealth watching of ITVX with the mute on her phone.
She was turning around. She could hear something.
I am going to give this week...
Sorry.
That was a good yawn.
Sorry.
I'm going to give this week 3 failed hairdressers in the Premier League.
3?
Yes.
Wow.
I was thinking of 2.5, to be honest.
Are you kidding? It was New Year's Eve.
I know. It was a letdown.
Oh, no.
It was fine. It was just like, okay. I wasn't totally bored, but there was very little there that made my heart set aflutter.
Ooh.
What are you giving it?
I'm giving it 4.
Oh, okay. 4.
4 phantom dogs barking in the bog at the cafe.
Actually, no. Maybe I'm going to give it 3 boxes, 3 piles of boxes piled up in the factory.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the story with Carla and Lisa.
I'm glad you did.
I hate medical storylines. I know what sepsis is now. Please shut up about it. I did like the police stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that happened.
Who is
Ton
my personnage de la semaine?
Je ne sais pas. Who is yours?
Well, I don't want you to steal my idea. It feels like I say it quite a lot first, but maybe I don't.
Who should I say then? Whoever it was that had in their house a World War II helmet that is now really sad that maybe they'll be happy because they'll get it back.
Maybe.
They've probably bought a new air fryer by now.
I'm giving it to Mason.
Oh, interesting.
Mason is my character of the week because I really enjoyed his scenes. I feel sorry for him despite the fact that I really, really shouldn't. I thought Luca Toolan put in a great performance. I enjoyed the cooking stuff. I enjoyed the relationship with Sally and Tim. I like the fact that he kind of took a risk in getting Justice scene 2, although I guess he was kind of doing it just to get his brothers off his back. Yeah, Mason for me. I'd invite him to work in my German restaurant this week.
I don't know. Carla or Lisa, maybe. For me, but how do I pick?
You can't just combine their names together and say it's Swarla as your character of the week, Gemma.
No, I can't, can I? Because I get in trouble.
You would get in trouble with me.
Who was?
So Carla did a bit of lying to Lisa, but then Lisa was a bit too focused on her case and not on her woman.
But we have different ideas about who gets character of the week because you seem to think it's some kind of like. You're going at it from a teacher's perspective, like pupil of the week, and you cannot give it to anyone who's been naughty. Whereas I value naughtiness.
And I totally give it to naughty people. Why else do you think feeling's gone so high up?
You used to say that you couldn't give it to someone who was bad. Yes, you have. Didn't. Listeners, has Michael not given?
I've definitely never said that.
Yes, you have.
Come back through all of our many hours.
I know you've given it to feeling in the past, but you've always said that it's not a reward for bad behaviour.
I've given it to Leanne just in the past 6 months.
I think you might have changed your tune over the last.
Sometimes it's to do with
Rebecca
what the character's doing. Sometimes
Rebecca,
it's how entertaining.
You know.
Right, go on then. Who's your character?
In the past, has Michael or not said that you can't give it to a naughty character? Because he definitely has.
No.
You definitely have.
Right, look, stop beating around the bush, Gemma. Who is your character of the week? Is it?
I think it'll be Carla.
Carla, kidney Carla.
And it was her birthday.
Oh, that's a cop out.
I don't give a
And I'm
crap
not talking
what
about
think.
the cop Lisa. You're knocking off the podium.
I don't care what you say.
Week.
You're lucky I didn't give it to the man who. I'm going to give it to Matty then because he's eating sweets.
No, it was Logan that was eating sweets.
Matty was as well.
Was he? I thought it was Logan.
I thought he was holding the bag.
Oh no, maybe it was.
Drugs
It feels like this is the thing about the Warners. It was funny because Logan was the first of them to be introduced, and it really feels like he's taken a back seat to Matty. Matty seems to be the main Radcliffe brother at the moment, doesn't he? And I don't get why they haven't got like equal footing. I think Logan is the more intimidating of the two as well.
He looks more scary.
He does look proper more scary. Matty doesn't look that scary.
Matty looks like the Disney prince who turns out to be a cad.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sorry, Matty.
He's yeah.
It's the cleft in your chin. You just look too like classically handsome.
Is he like a bit of a Gaston?
He might be
the less buff Gaston.
Is that bag full of boiled eggs rather than boiled sweets? We'll never know now.
Right. Okay. That's our street talk done.